Trey and Dave hit it hard in the dark, stealing tales from the void, never bark. Movie shows they tear apart, dimensions clash, they ignite the spark. Couch debates, turn the volume up, set the chaos, overflow the cup. Alien worlds and twisted scenes, banter spreads like electric dreams. Outer dimensions ride the wave, trying days that flames ablaze, discussing bits and cosmic plays. Beyond the stars they find their praise. They find their praise. Ripping through the
Hey guys, welcome back again to the Outer Dimensions podcast. You know, the channel that we chop it up, whether it comes to movies, music, TV shows. This week is TV shows. But first, of course, we got a lot going on, guys. And by the way, this show is pre-recorded and is not recorded in front of a live studio audience. This is a special pre-recorded episode we're doing, guys, because, you know, periodically we have some life events that we need to pause and not be live for. So this is going to be pre-recorded. But without further ado, we got the man, the myth, the legend himself, our one true tribal chief. He is a teacher, a father, a lover of all things Sentai. Our one true tribal chief, Dre the Geek Dad.
Hey everybody, yes, as you can see, it's beautifully lit outside, so you can actually tell that we are recording this as of in the afternoon. So sometimes, like Dave said, we have life, and this is actually a holiday. We're celebrating someone's birthday, so that's why we're not here today. So we're not here tonight. So we're going to be fast forwarding to the future, you know. So Dave and I have been wanting to come up with some topics that you guys have recommended to us. Again, I have 3 pages, full pages written of ideas. And Dave mentioned something to me that was on one of those, that was on page 1, like middle of the page, which is something we both have wanted to talk about for a while, which is TV shows. We absolutely love binge watching a show. We haven't done it, you know, you don't get to do it quite often because some shows don't. They're kind of going back to that old format of dropping episodes weekly or dropping 2 episodes and then episodes weekly or bi-weekly. So, you know, back in the day, Netflix used to drop the entire show. They would just like
The whole season all at once.
I remember Daredevil when it came the first season on Netflix. I binge watched like 9 episodes.
You know it.
And I loved it. When they did Luke Cage, did the same thing. So Cobra Kai, that was like the last show I remember they kind of put all the episodes up at once and on Netflix. You know,
And then like the last season they kind of chopped it up.
Yeah, and Stranger Things has done that too. Like Stranger Things did, like, you know, we got all of season 4, but then like they cut it and now it's gonna be like they're saying
they did that too.
Yeah, they've done that they've done it in a lot of different shows. So these shows are ones we think, and now mind you, the list is not complete because Dave and I actually had to go through and move shows around that we thought that could not make the top 5. But again, we will do another one of these style shows. Maybe we'll do it live one day with a guest and kind of talk about that, because I think I like the variety, hearing other people's what they like, because Dave and I have completely opposite lists, and it's the first time I think in a long time that our lists are very divergent from each other.
And also, as far as mine, I went with shows that would not be the atypical what most people would expect from me. As everyone knows, I'm a bit of a sci-fi guy, and for me, I went with shows that I can easily watch over and over again. I think other people could potentially enjoy them. Many of these shows are not like one-off seasons, which, trust me, there's been a lot of great shows that sadly we only had 1 or 2 seasons of.
Firefly.
Huh?
Firefly.
Don't get me started on that.
I know that's a show all to itself.
Firefly, Serenity, and of course the comic, and of course the RPG game that's out there.
Mhm.
There's an actual board game for those that are brown coat fans. That's a whole other topic all onto itself. But Dre, what do you say we get started?
I'm all for it. Let me get us into slide number 1, which is our 5th picks, by the way. So I'll start this off because this actually Dave was kind of surprised at why I chose this. Um, I'm a huge fan of, Dave and I do have an episode coming out called The Latchkey Kids, which I think a lot of our viewers are in that age range of that you came home from school or you came home, you were home by yourself. And, Saturday nights, I remember was like the one night my dad, before they got divorced, we would sit down and watch the Golden Girls. And then when we were expecting Rory during COVID, I remember Meredith and I sitting on the couch and Lana was sitting on the floor, and we rewatched Golden Girls while Rory was kicking in her belly. And it just has it's just a good show. It's one of those that I can put on and rewatch all the seasons. I'm not talking about like Empty Nest or like Golden Manor. I'm not talking about the spin-offs. I'm
You mean
talking
the
about
Golden Palace? I think
the
it
Golden
was the
Palace. Yeah,
hotel.
I thought it was Manor for some reason, but you might be right. It's called the Golden Palace. Allison, I know I expect you to correct me and Dave in the comments below, but I definitely love the Golden Girls. I mean, I actually just saw that the Funko Pops were on sale at Target last weekend, and
Yeah.
it was like $8 for all of them, like to get them all. And I was like, I don't like Funko, but my wife and I, absolutely love this show. I mean, how could you not love them? Dave did mention to me that they're doing kind of a twist on this. I think it's a stretch because Dave does
It's
love to do that. It's a stretch, but
yeah.
it can be compared to. I wouldn't call it a
It's
spiritual successor, but I would say it can be
well,
looked at
I wouldn't
as
say
a
it's a
modern
genetic
take.
successor, but it's kind of a modern kind of take on three friends who are coming together, and I think maybe we'll look at possibly doing a review of that later
Yeah,
at a
that's
later point
definitely
in time.
that show's definitely on the list to be a review. But again, it's Golden Girls. I mean, how could you go wrong?
Yeah,
It's like literally you sit there and it's comedy, it's serious,
it's it's comedy, it's life, it's cheesecake. What more could you ask for?
it's a great slice of life show to sit and watch. And like I said, I can rewatch this with my kids. I can rewatch this with my wife. I can sit by myself and just have it as a background noise and literally just laugh because I know I don't even have to watch it to know Sophia's voice
Yeah,
and Blanche's, and it's just such a great
Rose.
show.
I mean,
So
it's one of those. I mean, there's never been a show like that before, and I don't think there has been a show like that since then.
Sex in the City. I would say loosely Sex in the City because Sex in the City felt like if they were four of Blanche's kids, and that's Sex in the City. But I think we haven't seen a show that has taken four women to do the
For
show
all
like
you
this.
know, for all you know, Blanche could have been a great aunt to any of the women from Sex and the City. I mean,
Very
we don't
possible.
know.
And I've
She could be
watched Sex in the
carried.
City, so I've watched Sex in the City. I've watched the spin-off show with my wife.
Well,
So
I mean,
it's
let's be honest. Even if you haven't watched the entire series of Sex and the City, I'm pretty sure someone has at least seen a few
Mr.
episodes. Let's
Big.
be honest.
Everybody knows there's memes about Mr. Big, so y'all know it. So it's like, it again, it doesn't it's one of those this is one of those shows that doesn't matter who you are, there's still merchandise for this show
Oh
in
yes,
2025. So if that's
there's
not proof
coloring
of the
books, there's
longevity,
T-shirts, there's so much. I mean, and this is a show
coloring
that was
books.
only on in the '80s.
Hmm. It went into
40 some
syndicate.
odd years.
It's been in syndication. It was on
Yeah.
syndication on Nick at Night. So
Yep.
it's a great show. So I love this. That's why it's my 5th pick.
Now, what was it? I'm going to ask Stray a few questions about Golden Girls here. What was it that, like, did you have a favorite character? Was it, I mean, was
Sophia.
it just like for me, I watched it because as a kid, when I was a little kid before my stepdad and my brothers came along, it was me, my mom, my sister, and a lot of times we spent time diagonally across the street, a few houses down at my grandmother's house. And a lot of the shows, a lot of my viewing habits were derived from my grandparents. My grandfather would watch stuff like the original Equalizer, which we talked on a previous episode. Mike Hammer, just all different kinds of action shows. But my grandmother would watch like Matlock, Murder She Wrote, Golden Girls. So this was something that was like I would watch with my grandmother all the time. But it was just something that it was fun. It was just, and let's be honest, back in the 80s, we had a lot more wholesome TV shows back then. And this is, I think, one of those shows where it's kind of hard to say what was it that it drew you towards. So for you, what was it for you?
I think for me, when I watched it with my mom and my dad, it was one of those just like the comedy was being Hispanic, growing up where your parents are very much your grandparents, your aunts and your uncles are very not like these characters. That's what made it appealing to me because it was not what I was so used to seeing. So Sophia was actually very reminiscent of like my grandmother, the sweet, but you didn't want to get her riled up because she would kick your ass, and I mean, I've never. I had an aunt that was very much like Rose. That's just she was giving and loving, but just kind of dumb as dirt. Like when it came to like common sense things, she just lacked that. But she was just a good person. So it's that's kind of what I feel this show offered for me. As just being one person that's you're a minority, you don't get used to this sort of stuff. And I'm going to run the show for a little bit till Dave comes back. So I know that Dave's pick I did not watch, and when he gets back on camera, he will
No,
gladly tell
I'm
you.
still here. I'm just having some technical issues with the camera, but I'll still be talking. You can still hear me.
All right. Well, you said you had other questions for me.
Well, not like because it was curious to see because like everyone has their own perspectives of what draws them to the show. And
Mhm.
like you said, Sophia, you felt like just about everyone in the show, you kind of knew someone in life, whether they were family or not, right?
Well, Sophia's Italian, so Italians and Puerto Ricans are we mesh well because our cultures are very similar. You love with food, you're loud, you're obnoxious, you're angry, you yell, but you yell with love, And I feel like Sophia was very much reminding me of family members that I have, and that I have still. So
Yeah.
that's why I think that's why she is like my spirit animal. Like when I watch that show, like I love Sophia. But much like you said, I think everybody has a character or two that they you know are like that's their person. So as he is having difficulties, I'm gonna
Hello.
yeah, we're
Okay.
here.
Sophia probably was my favorite too because she always had. I mean, the old stories way back in Sicily.
Especially
Or,
yeah,
you know, I mean, just that was just, and she had a remark for everyone. She could shut anyone down,
yeah. She
which
she was
was
quick.
just
She
which
was quick
which was
witted.
hilarious. And we all knew someone in our families who kind of that person, or we knew someone in our lives who was kind of that person. So yeah, that's definitely what I gravitated towards. So, but,
Yeah, that,
but
that
yeah,
thanks.
it's
That's the truth. That's the truth for me. Like Sophia was my grandma. So
now. How many times would you say you have binged the show? I know you said that you did it
multiple
Rory
times.
was when Rory was being expected. Did
Yeah.
you and the missus?
hmm
So
I must have binge watched this quite a few times. I know that Nick at Night, when I used to work, the late shift, and I'd come home. I couldn't sleep right away. So this was when my mom was still having cancer treatments. this is well over 14 years ago, 15 years ago at this point. I would sit down and I would just like crash. My mom would be asleep in her bed or would be in the hospital, and I would sit on the living room on the couch, and I would just like crash out watching, hours of just Nick at Night, and they would do like this like 6 hour block of Golden Girls. So I would just sit there, eat dinner, eat a late dinner, grab a beer, and just watch. That's what I would watch, and it was fun because it was like the perfect, like, I could sleep to it, and I, or fall asleep to it. I could watch it and do something else, because again, I wasn't active on my cell phone, even though I had friends locally here in Charlotte I would talk to, but it just wasn't the same. At least that's, like I said, that's me. Don't hear you. You still don't. We don't hear you. And we are experiencing some technical difficulties. I think we have to put a blurb up for like technical difficulties. Is this too funny? No. And we're back. And Dave no longer has technical issues. Dre the tech guru that I am not, told him to do one thing and he gets it working again. So I'm glad to have him back.
All he said was just revert back to my original plugins, so that's what I did.
Hey, that's great. That's great technical advice.
No, you didn't tell me to turn it off and turn it back on. That's step one. So let's go ahead and talk about my number 5, Johnny 5. Chuck Bartkowski, or Charles Carmichael, as his character was known as in the spy shows. Anyone who isn't familiar with Chuck is a smart guy. He's a tech guy himself, but he's a nerd. And because of something that happened when he was in Stanford, he got expelled from Stanford University. Instead of having a break computer career, he's working at the Buy More, which is kind of a Best Buy type store. Think of it that way. Well, he gets an email from an old former friend of his from college. He opens up the email and there's this flash of images very similar to our background that flash before his eyes, and it downloads basically a computer database into his own mind. And now he is a walking computer. When he sees something to do with the government or spies or anything, he flashes and suddenly he has a flush of just a whole influx of information that pops in his brain now. Well, the government tracked him down. So now he's paired up with CIA and I believe also, I'm trying to think, NSA representative. So they are now tasked with this nerdy guy, Chuck, who's a bumbling idiot. And it's them going on cases and trying to save the world at times, although this guy has no training whatsoever. But as the show progresses, obviously he gets a crush on the female lead, who is Sarah. She is a super spy, of course. And of course, as the show gets on, at one point he loses, it's called the Intersect, the computer database. And then at some point we find out that his father actually designed it, played by the omnipresent Scott Bakula, of course, from Quantum Leap and also Star Trek Enterprise fame. And this show is a gaggle of cameos over the years. We have WWE wrestlers who appear in the show. We have Sarah Connor herself, Linda Hamilton, playing his mom, who is a spy. We get 007 himself, Timothy Dalton, in there as a recurring character.
No, don't ever call him 007. Just say the actor that played in Flash Gordon.
Okay, calm down, Sparky. Timothy Dalton, best known for Flash Gordon, best known for such amazing hits as Beauty and the Beautician and the Beast with Fran Drescher. Also, his appearance as Rassilon, the Conqueror, President Gallifrey in Doctor Who in The End of Time Part 1 and Part 2. Amazing actors. I mean, we get so many people. I mean, we get Ben Browder was in there for a guest appearance from Farscape fame, and of course the later seasons of SG1, Stargate SG1. We got a lot of amazing people coming in here. We have amazing comedy. There's a two bumbling idiots that work at the Buy More, Jeff and Lester, who form a band called Jeffster, and their covers of the music of like 80s and 90s music is actually, it brings a smile to your face, but it's got a lot of comedy. We even had Chevy Chase appear as a bad guy of all people, as a corporate bad guy of all people. So it is a fun show for me. At one point, he gets new upgrades, new versions of the Intersect. One where he actually now has fighting skills. I mean, it's just a very fun, very awesome show for me. It's something that, as a nerd, I was riding along with him. I was, watching it like, hey, this would be cool if this happened to me. The whole thing of being that nerd, you never thought you would go on to doing things, but he winds up being a spy, saving the world without killing people, mind you. That's the one thing that he's all about, is he just can't kill a person. He's still an amazing good guy, but he doesn't do what normal people would do. I mean, we even have Brandon Routh in here as a reoccurring bad guy, kind of a double-sided, double cross,
Double agent.
yeah, double agents. Just a lot of great stuff. It's comedy, it's fun. If you're looking for something to just kind of like unplug from life and just kind of laugh at life for once, whether you're stuck in a retail job or a corporate job, this is just one of those shows where you get to just laugh and enjoy yourself for 5 long seasons. And the show was not without its controversies. At one point, it got canceled again. Actually, of all corporate sponsors to save them was Subway, and they worked that into the show. And I think at the end of season 3 into season 4, they actually worked Subway into the show a little bit, which is kind of funny. So they had humor about themselves, about the show, about the stories, and it kind of kept you kind of guessing in a few times. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but this is one I could repeatedly watch over and over again. And there has been talks about, would the cast come back to do a reunion? They have talked about possibly doing like a TV movie at some point, but it has been off the air for a few years. And Zachary Levi, to his credit, I shouldn't say to his credit, but he's gone through a lot of mental health. When you hit it big, when you hit fame, he went on to do Shazam and some other projects, but sometimes that fame of everyone can, clamoring at you all at once can be a little overwhelming. He did kind of unplug and step back a few times to work on his mental health, so you can't fault the guy for that. But they have all said, given the right set of circumstances, they would be down for it. But also, like I said, it's been quite a few years, maybe 10 or so more, maybe 10 years,
Probably.
maybe.
It said 2004 was when it started.
Yeah, 2004. So it ended around 2010. So that's about 15 years now. So, I mean, would it be cool to kind of see where they are with how the show ended? Yes. I'm not giving you guys any spoilers, but for me, it's definitely worth a watch. It's something that I do enjoy, and there's plenty of humor in it. If you ever worked retail, you're going to appreciate this. I mean, imagine if someone you worked with was like a part-time spy, and it's hilarious trying to watch them balance both lives. It's like a superhero show, because you have to make up excuses why you're going to be out of town or why you can't do this or do that. It's To me, it's just a fun romp. It is a fun show that you can just kind of unplugging. You don't have to worry about people being too serious. The one guy, Casey, is undercover working with Chuck, so he's one of the handlers. And of course, Sarah works at like the corn dog / ice cream shop from across the way in the plaza that the Buy More is located in. So it's, to me, it's just fun, and it's something you can lose yourself into. It's just something you can kind of lose yourself. You don't have to worry about continuity and taking things too seriously. So that's why I love Chuck.
I never watched it except for like a few episodes here and
Yeah.
there. Like I told Dave when we discussed this last night, I never got into this show. I watched the Batista episode because that was when Batista had just
Because it's Dave Bautista.
it's Dave Batista, and WWE well, I call it Peacock, but NBC have that relationship for decades over Saturday Night's
Oh
Main
yeah.
Event. So Batista, and I know a few other WWE superstars, like I think the Big Show might have showed up. I know a few guys, and I think some of the girls had. I think the Miz might have showed up once too. Like there was a lot of people that were because of that.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stacy Keibler, they both appeared in a season 3 episode. But Keibler actually appeared a couple times in the show.
Well, she had left WWE, so that would have been
Yeah.
like her. That was probably her time when she was dating Clooney. So, but again, I would give the show a chance. I just never got into it. So
Yeah. And it's not, I'll admit, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Plus, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had a host of shows that kind of were a similar concept. UPN/CW had a show called Jake 2.0. He was an NSA analyst that, due to a weird experiment, he got basically these nanites injected into him by accident, and he was kind of like a pseudo. Sorry, Dre, I have to use the word James Bond. He was kind of a super agent,
I
as
would
it
have called
were.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Uh, I wouldn't go there, but he had these nanites that they could make him run faster. Allowed him instances of increased strength, and also he also could interact and interface with different systems. It wasn't a bad show. This adds a little. This has a nice blend of comedy, action, a sitcom almost to it. Because you got the will they, won't they with him and Sarah, and you get other characters have their own lives going on. Like he has his sister, and her husband called Awesome. That's his name, Awesome. It's a whole thing. But it has a very good blend of comedy to it. Jake 2.0 was trying to be like serious and hip. It was kind of like trying to be, let's do a tech version of, they're trying to fill in the gap of like Buffy and other shows with the WB. They're trying to compete with a lot of hip stuff, but it just never did. So that's the only thing I think that might have deterred people from it. Like, oh great, a guy who has another computer in him. So that might have deterred people, but also NBC has this, they are infamous for moving shows around from different nights, and Chuck was one of those victims. They kept moving a show around. There's another show in this countdown that were unfortunately suffered the same fate, but that's a whole other story. But yeah.
So let's get to the next slide. I mean, obviously, Stranger Things. I mean, it is the
Stranger
typical.
Danger things.
It is the prototypical. Like this is I want to get people that were 80s babies, the latchkey kids. I want to get new fans, and it was at the time this show aired its first season. I was already hooked on the teasers. It involved Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm a huge lifelong D&D player, DM. So this show
Wait, you
appealed.
are?
I know, go figure, right? And this show just appealed to it. I loved David Harbour's character. I loved the concept of this duality between our world and the other,
The under
or they call it the upside down.
the upside down.
So, and for me, I'm a huge fan of this show. I have binge watched this several times. Once the first time I did it, obviously, as it aired, then I would rewatch it every time they would say like a month before. I would rewatch the previous season or seasons. And then my wife, when her and I got together, she had never seen this show. So we binged all the way up to when it was right before season 4 was coming out. And I was like, oh, we got to watch it. And she was hugely into it because it pays homages to, again, the latchkey kids. For everybody that was in the 70s or 80s that grew
I think
up
like
with
mid 80s, mid to late 80s. I mean, it's just the vein of it. I think that's
it,
like,
it does. It sits in that nice little niche, but then it offers this several branch storylines. So it's not like you have to worry about one character. You're actually seeing 10 characters be developed. and it's through the seasons as you've watched it, you see that character development. Am I going to get into the oh my goodness, next year we're finally getting season 5 and it's going to be in 2 parts? Damn you, Netflix for doing that too.
Hopefully.
Oh no, it's next year. They announced it. It's 2026. It's because they'll be too old. These kids are already in
Well,
their
no,
20s.
I mean actually releasing it though. That's what I'm hinting at.
Oh no,
Will
no,
it, they
they
better
already
release it.
they're saying that it'll be released in May and then the final half of the season. If people are rioting because they don't want to wait any longer. So I'm hopeful that they do what they say, that it'll come out in May, and if they do it all, they drop all the entire season, which I think is short too. I don't think that they're doing
Yeah.
a long season. I think they said it's going to be like 6 to 8 episodes, and each
Yeah.
episode's going to be longer than it used to be. It used to be 45, 50 minutes.
I don't
think they're
mind
going
that
to be.
though.
I don't mind it either. If you're going to complete the story and give me all 6 to 8 episodes and they're an hour and a half long, I'll sit and watch it. I just don't want to have to wait for like another 4 years. We've already waited
I mean,
3 years since this. No, we're in year 4. This will be year 4. It'll be 5 years
yeah.
almost since they released the last season.
Now I'll be honest. I did not watch it until just before season 4. I binged these seasons all at once. So I was not in the culture of Stranger Things until season 4 came around. But yeah, like Dre said, the kids are getting older. I mean, hell, what's his name? Finn Wolfhard was a little kid. He was a little scrawny kid, and we've already seen him in some pretty big movies. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Afterlife. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff, and that's the thing. A lot of these kids are. I mean, of course. Oh God, the red haired girl. I'm blanking on her name right now. You know who I'm talking about.
Millie Bobby is 22 years old, and she's
11.
married.
Yeah.
11, the main character.
Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi, of all things. She's in a show that is all 80s culture, and what family does she marry into? Bon Jovi. Go figure. I think she's probably one of the biggest stars to come out of the series.
I think she is the biggest star.
Yeah,
Finn
because
Wolfhard would be. You have to look at this. Like, so if you pyramid it, she's at the top. Millie Bobby. David Harbour would be.
David Harbour's next, definitely.
David Harbour is the second, and then underneath them would be like Finn, the red-haired girl.
Yeah, because she's rumored to be in the potentially the next Spider-Man movie, potentially as a character. We're not gonna speculate on to which one, because please, millions of people are already doing that on Facebook and on the socials. Guys, just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Just watch it. But yeah, like, so if you like, all the other characters have kind of fallen by the wayside, I think. Because
Winona Ryder.
Well, Winona was already famous. Like, David Harbour was an unknown at that point. Like, he hadn't done anything. David Harbour's done like Violent Night. He's done Red Guardian. He's in Thunderbolts. He's going to be in Doomsday. So like, the guy is already now got his niche in.
Yeah.
You have other characters that are like becoming popular, like pop culture. D&D got its biggest push in the pandemic era because of Stranger Things and Critical Role. And people attribute this show to getting you interested in Critical Role, which then made people more interested in Dungeons and Dragons. So you have to, this show transcends that, the typical, I binge watch. People have binge watched this, and then they go binge watch like Critical Role. Then they're like, oh my god! Like, then they'll go watch Vox Machina and series.
And if you're not into if you've not watched Critical Role, do yourself a favor and binge it. Go watch it. It's definitely worth it.
Just watch the first 2 campaigns. Don't watch the campaign 3. The current.
And like Dre mentioned about Vox Machina, I binged that like just a couple months ago. I binged all the seasons, which you can do on Amazon Prime Video, by the way. And I'll be perfectly honest, it sucked me, and it was a whole take on a whole different world. If you haven't been a part of the D&D world, Dungeons and Dragons, it takes you on just this mystical, crazy ass adventure that is so modernized. Like it's not people speaking old English. It is people just talking normal, and you get some modern flair to it. The voice actors are amazing. It's great content all on its own.
Like he said, it takes you to the world of just so. And this is not me looking anything up. I know the world because I have the books, the actual campaign books. It's the world of
He has
Taldore.
the books. He has everything memorized.
Yeah, it's the world of Taldore. If you wanted to know, so if you're interested, I think it's a good watch. Stranger Things has also transcended pop culture into the fact that they've done crossovers in the comics recently with Ghostbusters as of last year. They did Ninja Turtles the year before
Yep.
that. They've
Well,
got their own comic book storyline, which is actually supposed to be in the midst of between seasons.
was it season 1 that they dressed up? They actually dressed up as Ghostbusters, or was that season 2?
Season 2, the opening for
Season 2, and of course, irony. Finn Wolfhard would eventually be cast as Trevor Spengler in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
So
But
go figure. But like I said, that the show has recently Motu did a toy line crossover with Stranger Things.
Yep.
So it's this show is still very popular, and
it's still in
I
the
think
culture
it's
without
still
having new content.
exactly. And the new content comes to us in 2026. So 2026 is going to be a big year for us.
I
I
mean,
think
with
the Outer Dimension is going to be we're I don't think we're going to miss a week because
no,
I think literally we have so much content coming out next year. We have 3 big movies from just the Marvel side, lots of TV
we got
shows,
Thunderbolts coming out next month.
which I'm already buying tickets for. So I
Yep.
mean, and I'm gonna literally see it before we go on live on that night. So I'll get back home and it's gonna be putting the headset on, jumping into the show. But yeah, I think that if for anybody that loves the concept of seeing character development and do want to actually get into Stranger Things, you can rewatch it on Netflix. You can get into the lore because they did several
Yep.
graphic novel series that are tied to the world and the characters.
There's been
And
a Transformers crossover with this.
I never heard of that. Like
Uh,
I'm pretty
it,
much in the lore of Stranger Things. I've never
the
heard of this
pizza
before.
delivery guy, his van gets turned into it's a Transformer. It's a whole
Okay.
thing.
Oh no. Okay. So when you say that to me and to the fans that we remember, that's a toy. Not there's not culture of like Transformers crossing over into it. It's not to me a crossover. True crossover is a comic book, a like Teenage Ninja Turtles, where the Ninja Turtles crossed over into Stranger Things and were fighting the Demogorgons. You had Ghostbusters cross over with Stranger Things, and they did a huge comic book line. That's a crossover. It's a toy line getting influenced by it, like Motu and Transformers. That's just Hasbro trying to capitalize and Mattel trying to capitalize on it, which is fine by all means. It like Dave said, it puts out product and interest still going for a show that
Yes.
we are like foaming at the mouth to get a season for. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I think it's a hell of a show.
Okay. Who's your favorite?
Oh God, it's a toss between 11 and I can't say the other name because I want people to watch the show. So I think the main villain, the main,
Okay.
and it's not the I'll call him that, the Mind Flayer. I think the Mind Flayer is what I happen to like a lot, and I like 11. So
I mean, I know people who have I know a guy who has 2 of the Demogorgons in his yard, outside displays. Um, this show attracts the nostalgia fans. Like you said, latchkey kids are gonna latch onto this. Anyone who likes horror, you're gonna latch onto this. Anyone who likes anything supernatural, and I don't mean the two brothers. Anyone who likes anything that's supernatural related, this has elements to it. Anyone who likes conspiracy stuff is gonna dig this.
oh yeah,
I
big
mean,
time.
we get
Cryptids,
we get amazing actors like seasoned actors, Matthew Modine,
Paul
who
Reiser.
by the way, did you know that Matthew Modine presided over the ceremony for Millie Bobby and her
I
now
did.
husband?
I saw the
I
pictures
mean,
on IG.
at first he thought it was a joke, but it was a full-on thing. So I mean, Sean Astin, Winona Ryder. I mean, we get these amazing heavies in here, people who are known for the 80s. and they
Oh yeah,
come in
big time.
and they friggin' kill it. Paul Reiser, like
He's a
played,
mainstay actually
he
all the way
played,
through till season
he
4.
played, he played. Paul Reiser's kind of had a recent influx with Axel F. He was on The Boys.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Stranger Things, so he's been playing some characters that are not his typical comedy guy, and I'm digging that. I
Oh yeah,
really dig
he's
that.
kind of a villain. Just so
Yeah.
for I don't want to give anything away because I think that the show, even though it's been out for a long time, I think that there's something about Paul Reiser's character that you will see that there is a build even for him. Like you
Oh
don't
yes.
see him a lot. You see him; he's in the show, and I think that he has a lot of influence in season 2 more than season 1. Season 3, we see him a fair amount, and in season 4, we see him till I don't remember how many episodes are in season 8 or season 4. I think there's like 8 or 9. But he's in the show for about half the season.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think like Gray said, David Harbour, I think he stole like there he's probably the big surprise of the show for me. I mean, he's an older actor. He's not one of the kids, but his presence on the show as Hopper, I mean, it's a show stealer, but I mean, there's so many aspects to the show, not just 11 and not just some of the kids. I mean, we get some amazing and some pretty insane. If you think you're going to predict what's going to necessarily happen, you're not going to be able to do that. Season 4, we get some amazing visuals. Dre knows what I'm talking about. Amazing visuals that happen to feature one of the greatest rock bands of all time.
I'm not going to mention that. That is. I think there's been. But for anybody that doesn't have TikTok or YouTube or just anything, there was
Just
memes made
enjoy
about
it.
it. Just literally,
Just enjoy it.
I think I even have the book. Yeah, here it is. So anybody that's a fan of season 4, that's just all I'm gonna say. Once you see season 4,
That's
you'll be like,
Yep.
"Oh my god, yeah, I had to get that." That was
A
like
couple years ago, I went to Steel City Comic Con. I ran into God, so many people wearing Hellfire shirts and people doing Stranger Things cosplay as groups. Like I think I probably saw 7 or 8 different groups together doing the cosplays.
and I
And
stand incorrect. Just to give everybody a heads up. As far as everybody is saying right now, the show had finished wrapping December of last year, December 20th, and it's been in post production since January of this year. The Duffer Brothers did say that it's set to be released later this year. Some people are speculating. I know on Reddit there's been a lot of speculators that are saying they're looking to release it uh, probably
October,
in October, right at Halloween, and it'll
do it,
finish the year out. And I'm like, do
do
it,
it, do
do it,
it, do it.
because that's kind of always been the theme of the show. Like we've always been at Halloween. It's
Yeah,
like they open season 2 in Halloween with the
I
Ghostbusters
mean
costumes.
the visuals in the show with the upside down. I mean, just like this is it. It is some twisted, dark stuff, and it is ripe. It is perfect for scary season, for spooky season. Now, I'm someone who, if I had it my way, Halloween would be year round, but that's a whole other story. But it's going to be interesting to see how season 5 will wrap things up. Who will survive? Who will not? Who will you know? Who will wind up still standing? Because I think season 4 taught us a lot of things that
Don't go in there. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. Just watch the show. I think at this point, Dave is going too deep, and I don't want you to get
Well,
deeper
no,
into.
no. I was going to say that with season 4, it showed you that there's a lot of surprises, and just when you think someone could be down, they're not. That's all I was
Just
going
watch.
to say.
Just watch the show. I'm
Yes.
going to say it 100%. Even if you don't know it, people have. You don't have to be in the pop culture to know this show is integral to pop culture. It is. It's been an establishment for close to now 7 years. Next year would make 7, and if we get it in October, like they're saying they're trying to shoot for, by all means, Netflix, bring it and bring it with the heat. Give me the full season and let's go. And it's Sadie Sink. That's who everybody's
Sadie.
talking about.
Yeah. So, my pick, surprise, surprise, superhero show, Smallville. I know Dre and I talked about this last night. I'm someone like Dre with Dre. Sometimes it's with certain shows he's kind of like one and done, and he's good with that.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I can watch Smallville over and over and over again. Growing up, a lot of my favorite comics were obviously I love Batman. Batman were my first, Batman and Superman were like my first comic books. Green Lantern, Flash, of course. But something about Smallville, something about the fact that we had Clark Kent. This is Clark Kent before he's Superman. This show ran 10 years with him just as Clark Kent. Of course, later on, he took on certain monikers, which we won't necessarily go into. Michael Rosenbaum, which, if you're not familiar with him, you've probably seen him in a few different movies. But for comic book geeks and us nerds, he was the voice of Wally West Flash in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. He also voiced several background characters in I don't think he was in Batman the animated series, but he was in Batman Beyond as various characters. He is a great voice actor, and here we are. He gets a chance to be Lex Luthor, and I'll say this: of the TV show Lex Luthors, now we've had some pretty good Lex Luthors. I'll say this: we have had two good Lex Luthors on TV. Let's just put it that way. Definitely not Lois and Clark. Dre knows which one I'm going with. I'm going with the Lex
John
Luthor
Cryer.
we had on Superman and Lois.
And no, I like him, but John Cryer did a good job too in Supergirl.
Oh, John Cryer and Supergirl. Yes, he did a very, very, very good job. But I mean, Michael Rosenbaum, he had the darkness. He had this darkness about him. He wasn't necessarily trying to play Gene Hackman, and I think that's a great thing. I think John Cryer's was a little Hackman-esque, but of course the two starred together in Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. But that's a whole other show. But he brought, like, just to give you guys an idea, Clark is in high school. He is hit accidentally by Lex Luthor in his Porsche. The two go flying off this bridge into the water, and Clark, being the good person that he's being raised as, he actually rips open the Porsche and pulls Lex Luthor out. Now Lex is like in his 20s and Clark is in high school. So they're not that many years apart from each other. And they actually strike up a friendship. Okay, so it was interesting to see, the man who would become Superman was best friends with his mortal enemy. The biggest bad that or I should say the biggest mortal enemy he will face on Earth. And of course, we get Lana Lang, like you can see in the photo here, and it's about Clark, struggling with his powers, struggling with, how to keep them hidden and how he can use them and how he can't use them. It's just it's a long, it is a long series. It's 10 seasons. It has 10 years. And we do get dabs of past Superman iterations. We get Christopher Reeve in there. We get Margot Kidder, the original voice of General Zod. Terrence Stamp is actually the voice of Jor-El, Clark's Earth or his Kryptonian father. I mean, we get so many great actors throughout this series, including Dave Bautista, because we know Dre loves some Bautista.
Well, I love my wrestling guys showing up.
Yeah. We get Bautista in there. We get anyone who's big into Superman lore. We get the Legion of superheroes from the distant
Green
future.
Arrow, Cyborg.
We get a version of Green Arrow. We get a version of Cyborg,
Aquaman.
and it's said that we didn't get more. I mean, Aquaman, the future Reacher.
Future Reacher.
Future Reacher.
Tracker. The future Tracker.
Yes.
on that show, which is great. I mean,
Yep. And ironically, little tidbit right there. Justin Hartley, who played Green Arrow, played Oliver Queen in Smallville, who would later be the Star Tracker. He actually appeared in the very first episode of the rebooted Quantum Leap as a bounty hunter of all things. So maybe a little sprinkle of things to come,
wait,
even though it's a different network.
and because I had this on Xbox 360, I'll never forget this. My hard drive that I traded into GameStop, they couldn't believe I had this either. There was the CW
Pilot
single
for
pilot for Aquaman,
never saw it.
which had Ving Rhames, Lou Diamond Phillips, and yes, the guy who played the Emerald Archer was the lead character Aquaman, which is why he got his role on Smallville.
Yes.
And they didn't give it. They eventually give it to Reacher, which I think is a better fit personally because if I had to picture an Aquaman that's so prototypical, blonde hair, blue eyes, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's Reacher. No offense
Yes.
to Momoa, I love you. You're my Aquaman, not Reacher. Reacher's Reacher. Yeah, he can be my Batman.
Momoa will always be your tribal Aquaman.
Yes,
There you go.
he'll be my Aquaman. Trident held high in the sky.
Yes. But I mean, there's so much lore in here. Like we get,
You got the JSA.
obviously,
Don't forget you
yeah.
got the JSA because we got.
Well, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. Calm down. Because
remember that.
the first superhero ally he would come across would be Bart Allen, who would be called Impulse, who eventually is our Barry Allen, our Flash. We get, I mean, hell, we get Brainiac, and played magnificently by James Marsters, Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
He did a great job.
I mean, we get some amazing Alexandria Vanderroot, who would play Supergirl in the show, who would go on to other series and also played Myriad in the Supergirl series, which was not related to this universe, mind you. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, because actually, if you watch Crisis,
Yeah.
they showed Tom Welling look up out of the cornfield, and he looked up, and the sky was turning red.
Yeah.
So it shows you that this was part of what Gunn is now calling it the Elseworld.
Yes. But for me, it was, Clark was fumbling. He didn't have things dialed in. He had to learn how to do things. I mean, we have, he meets Perry White. We have these run-ins. And like I said before, Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve appeared in a couple episodes. So, and including the actor who played Jimmy Olsen, plays a fellow Kryptonian in later episodes. So I mean, they did pay homage to the original movies, if you will, using the John Williams music, using a lot of inspiration from Richard Donner. There was just so much that they did in this, and let's not forget the actors who played his parents, John Schneider, and how am I blanking on her name? She played the one who played Martha Kent. She played Lana Lang in Superman 2, or no, Superman 3 rather. I'm blanking on her name right now. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. You guys can you can dox me for that. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she played perfectly as Martha Kent, and actually her real life husband played Perry White in the show. I mean, if you're a big Superman fan, Smallville has to be on your binge list. It's 10 seasons, so that's 10 years of shows. So this is something that's not, you can watch it on and off over time. This could be one of those shows you alternate. But there's so much in here. Some of the shows, Dre and I have to admit that they have not aged well with some of the, not necessarily the writing some episodes of writing is not great. For the most part, it is. But we also get some of the CGI effects. Mind you, this is like 2000s. This was, I think, 2001 this came out, in fact. This is like right around 9/11 time that this actually debuted. So some of the choices they made, they had to make were resulted because of that. But they had a lot of great talent on the show. There's a lot of amazing adventures. And you can see how they kind of create sprinklings for the future, if you will. Clark Kent did not fly. Let's just put it that way. Clark Kent did not fly in the series. He has super speed. His how some of his powers come about are kind of hilarious in some shows, in some episodes, but it's just a fun show. It gives you a whole different look on how Clark Kent might have grown up. It gives you a whole take on it. Tom Welling is very likable as Clark Kent. Rosenbaum, he gives you almost a vulnerable Lex Luthor in the early seasons. John Glover plays a friggin' phenomenal Lionel Luthor, a very twisted father who later kind of becomes an ally. But it's just an amazing show for me. This is something I could still watch over and over again. Forgiving some of the writings, there's a few episodes where the writing is sloppy, but yeah, again, the special effects, some of them weren't the greatest, but I mean, for the time, they were top notch for the time. I mean, could almost compete with some films of the time. But and it did have a continuation in a limited comic book series afterwards. It was Smallville season 11. It was a continuation, and I won't go into anything related to that because spoilers.
I mean, it's again, this show influenced my life. One, because when I met my wife, her daughter, our daughter's name's Lana, and Lana is named after I was like, well, where'd you get the name for Lana? Because I told her my son's name's Brandon. Brandon's named after Brandon Lee. So she's like, oh, Lana, after Lana Lang from Smallville. And she said it just like that without even skipping a beat. And I was like, oh, I'm going to love you. Like in my head, like I already knew. I was like, this is the perfect woman for me because she watched Smallville and she named, her first child with now she has two with me. So it's like, it's crazy to think about that with life, that's how it would influence her. And then of course, obviously Rory named after Rory Gilmore, so it's just
It's all about the binging shows.
It's all exactly, get latchkey kids
Okay.
having kids, expect that. But again, I think this show, I've met them, like Dave knows the story. I've met Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. They hugged me in line. I didn't even know who they were.
Yeah,
I was waiting.
you can go to hell for that one.
Yeah, he's still mad at me. I was waiting in line to get an autograph for Tara Strong, and as I'm waiting in line, I was with one of my roommates, and then one other person was like, I can't remember the other person that was that my roommate knew, and they start arguing with another person in line, and the next thing I know, right behind me, Michael Rosenbaum just puts his arm around me and my roommate, and it's like, hey, what's going on? And I'm just sitting there, just like completely flabbergasted. Then Tom Welling sneaks underneath my armpit, puts his arm around me, and I now have two
Lex
people
Luthor and Superman hanging on
flanking me. I will never forget that moment, bucket list moment made for my life.
And I'll say this as an additional. If you guys do take the challenge and stream and binge Smallville, here's something I recommend after doing every single episode. Go over to YouTube to Talkville. Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling have their own podcast where they actually are critiquing and rewatching every single episode. It's the two of them kind of remembering stuff that they filmed back in the 2000s. And along with Michael Rosenbaum's producer who never saw Smallville. So they get to kind of see his take on it as someone who's watching these episodes for the very first time. And they have had guests, the creators and showrunners of the show, producers, other actors who have appeared on the show. They have them come on. So it's kind of cool if you're gonna binge each episode, you might want to also check out the podcast as well and support them.
Now, I will say one of the biggest memories I have of this show, I think, was in season 7 or 8, and that was when I saw Clark get hit with an nth metal mace from Katar, which was obviously Hawkman.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when I saw that mace hit him.
Michael Shanks plays Hawkman in the show. So anyone who's a Stargate fan, SG1, Daniel Jackson, beating the shit out of Superman.
Just when I saw that thing hit him in the chest, and it didn't shatter.
No,
it's nth metal. Obviously, is the strongest thing in the universe. kind of what we call metal in the MCU. And when I saw that thing hit him and it sent him flying, and I was just like, holy crap, this is awesome. Because you never saw Superman get mollywopped like that. Like we saw Brainiac, we've seen Metallo. They did, like, Brian Austin Green was Metallo. Like, they did a lot of,
That's terrible.
they did a lot of things that in the show that I kind of thought were questionable, but they're
Bizarro.
Like, Erica Durance did a great job as.
Oh, she was perfect for Lois. She did a great Lois.
She was awesome. I did not like that they kept giving us the constant red and blue, like, for Clark's attire. I get it because it's kind of supposed to be, but it was so. I felt it was too much. Like,
dyeing those Carhartt coats in the red and blue. Yeah.
Then when it's like when they were trying to do, like, the Kryptonian armor, he wore, like, a black shirt, like Connor Kent in the cartoon series did.
The long trench coats, like,
it just didn't add up. But I mean, the show does. I will say this: there is a payoff for any diehard Superman fan. There is a payoff at the last episode. We all kind of wanted it, like, season 5, season 6, maybe when they had the JSA show up, season 7. No, we don't get that payoff till season 10, the last episode. So I will say that
it's a controversial payoff. Let's just put it that way.
It is, because a lot of people argue
several
things. But I did like that they did put Marlon Brando's voice over in that last episode. Because for anybody that saw Christopher Reeve, we all knew Marlon Brando was the actor who played Jor-El in the original Superman. So they did pay that, and not only once, twice, because Brandon Routh's Superman, they did that too as well. So again, the show is iconic.
Definitely. I mean, and I'm not giving anything away. You heard me say that Christopher Reeve is in here. He is in here, and the way they did it was friggin' phenomenal and amazing. In my book, it is. And if you're a big fan of, like, behind the scenes, definitely check out Talkville, because they go into detail on the episodes that Chris Reeve wrote or that he started. And there's a lot of very interesting stuff right there. But I mean, come on. How do you, I mean, for Tom Welling, that had to be just, like, amazing, but also frightening at the same time. This guy was Superman. Let's be honest. Anyone who's ever been a Superman fan, their number one Superman is Chris Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was him. He never had to have a bodysuit, although we do get references and nods to the other Superman. Hell, even Dean Cain appears in an episode.
Yeah. I think everybody that was originally in a Superman-esque role that was alive at the time that wanted to be a part of the series.
Terry Hatcher
showed up. They had Dean Cain show up. They had
a reference to Brandon Routh without spoiling anything.
There was I know that the original girl who played Supergirl showed up.
Oh yes, she actually plays Clark. She plays Kal-El's mother.
So
Lara.
So there, General Zod was Jor-El. So there's a lot of nuances that people don't realize that they did a very good job of. But again, I think for me, it was a one and done. I don't really want to rewatch it. I think if I did, I would not.
Would you say it's the length of the series, the 10 years?
No. It's not that. I've watched Friends, and that's like 13 seasons, and I've watched, like, Supernatural, and that's 10 seasons.
No, that's 15 actually.
Sorry, 15. My bad. See, I try to think it's less, but to me, it's like I think I would pick up where the action for me meant more, because I think and it was funny. I forgot that they did the first half of the series was done on the WB. Then CW got bought out, and the whole other half. So it's different showrunners, and I think that's where I started liking it a little bit more. Granted, I agree with you. There were some seasons in that last 5 of that needed some work, because you could tell the showrunners maybe didn't know what they were doing.
There were filler episodes for sure, definitely.
Oh yeah, but that's what happens in any long.
Michael Ironside in here as Sam Lane, General Sam Lane.
Yeah, he did a great job too. But again,
he's great in everything. Let's be honest.
But yeah, like I said, I think I would rewatch it for maybe season 7 forward. to the last 3 seasons.
Okay.
I don't think I want to watch more than that because there's just no interest level. Like I know how it ends, so maybe I would watch season 7, 8, and then like stop at 9. I just don't think that there's more for me. But for someone that's never seen the show, there's a lot of cool lore. I think Krypton, I think shows that spawned off of this show did a better job doing,
That spawned off the popularity of the show.
yeah, like Krypton and Supergirl and Lois and Superman and Lois. You know, those other spin-off shows that are not even tied directly to this, but because it's part of the CW universe,
Yeah.
you know, again, I think it was a great, it was just phenomenal for what it was at the time. And it was one of the longest running because you didn't get that till Arrow and The Flash.
Yeah.
And those shows ended 2 seasons to a season less than this.
And I mean, if you do binge this entire season or this entire show, for me, I enjoyed watching, Clark fumble and then learning his powers over time. But as a cap to this, check out the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Because they have a conclusion with Tom Welling and Erica Durance in there. So
I know
why I bring that up.
Okay, but again, preface this, and I feel like this is where you have to preface. You can't just watch Crisis on Infinite Earths because there's 2. There's 2 shows. There was 2 seasons. There was 2 different times that they did it in 2 different sets of seasons within the multiverse. The first one only was
they did Elseworlds.
There was the CW's first version, which only had the 4 shows: Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow. The second one, I think, was far superior because you actually touched on the entire multiverse, which included the Max shows, Doom Patrol. It went into deep dives of these older shows and brought in Tyler Hoechlin from Supergirl and gave him the Lois and Superman spinoff. This is why I say you can't just watch those and just get that. You could go on YouTube. Yeah, maybe go on YouTube if you don't want to go that deep into the whole thing and see the Anti-Monitor and all that stuff. Go there and just type in Crisis on Infinite Earth, Tom Welling, Erica Durance.
Yeah, just do that and you can watch it. It's actually a very cool scene with John Cryer, of all things.
Yes, but if you want to get into and watch the shows, you would really need to be in I forgot Black Lightning. We got to throw Black Lightning in that second one, which I thought was awesome. So you need to be a fan and know the lore. So don't just. That's why I don't want you guys to jump into the pool.
I'm going to say this: I don't think you need to know the lore to enjoy the show. I'm going to throw that out there.
Okay, lore. When I say lore, you need to know the lore of the TV show's universe, not the lore of Crisis. So if you don't watch Black Lightning, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, you will not understand why the Justice League formation was important. You won't understand why the Anti-Monitor from that first one is important. Why that affecting those universes and how those characters interacting. There's a lot of nuances.
I was just saying, if they want to see a potential conclusion of how Clark's future life, that scene from Crisis is what I'm referencing.
No, that's what I said. I'm just telling you from the completionist point of view. Because we know that there's a lot of people with OCD and that need to be like, well, I can't just watch that one scene. I need to go find out why that scene's important. So we're trying to give you guys, and this again, I'm not just, I'm a completionist in a lot of ways, but I'm not. But I do know that there's people that have yelled at me as a fan saying, why did you tell me about that one scene? Because now I had to watch all these other shows to understand that. So you're right. And I blame Dave for doing that sometimes to me, but I love him. But that's why I'm telling you guys, if you decide to watch that scene and it sparks the interest, we could always, you guys drop us the questions. I actually have the Crisis episodes, so I could tell you what episodes to watch because you don't realize Batwoman's involved in the second one. There's episodes that cross over I could tell you what episode of Flash to watch in what season, what episode of Arrow in what season, what episodes of Supergirl. So you're not lost in understanding that There's 2 crises. One involved a lot more characters, and other one involved way less. But that first one was a setup to involve the rest of the universe that was simultaneously going on. So that's why I say like it's a lot to digest.
And speaking of digesting, let's go on to the next one.
I like that digesting. All right, I went completely left. Dave did not. He was like solo leveling. Yes, I am a fan.
I mean, isn't solo leveling a thing you do in gaming? I'm just saying it, you know.
That is, and that's kind of the principle of this anime. So yes, folks, this is an anime. This is not a regular television show. It is something you can watch on Crunchyroll. If you pay for the subscription, it's better because you don't get commercials. But for 2 seasons, a total of 26 episodes across both seasons, you get to meet Jun Sun Woo and Sujin, and you're like, wow. So this is like a guy that's sitting in his universe, and he plays a VR game. And the VR game is like they're hunters, you know. They're seeking out to be like S rank hunters. And for those of you that know, like if you play, I think a lot of these gacha games, like there's S rank, there's like SS rank and RA rank and all that other crap. This show is kind of this guy that's very prominently powerful, but he's not there yet. And as he goes through and he's seeing other hunters chase after him. Now, this is a Korean manhwa, which is Korean anime or manga, comic books. And this show is actually a light novel series. And this is a show that Japan picked up in collaboration with South Korea and made this. And it is by far considered to be one of the best new animes of 2024 and 2025. It is currently a mobile game. So if you do want to continue the adventure and you want to play the character even more, you can go online and download it on your phone. Or if you really are interested in the background story of why the character is going through this universe, what's his relationship with his dad and how that ties into his character and the monsters he's fighting, and go and read the light novel series, which is I think each novel is about 500 pages. So they're a thick read, but they're great for the lore. And if you can't stand doing that, read the Korean manhwa. Volume 8 currently is the hardest one to find. I have everything up to there and past that, but it's 8 for some reason I can't find. But again, there's not a lot of merchandise yet. People have been honing, like foaming at the mouth to get a statue, action figures. I've been wanting action figures. I would just love to get that. But it's, I think, beautifully animated. The story is amazing. We are getting a season 3 after they told us we weren't, because the original director said, I don't want to do a season 3. I guess money talks. And he's got season 3 coming out this July. So we'll be getting season 3 starting in July of this year. So look forward to it. Again, I strongly recommend it. If you're not into anime, ignore this pick. If you are big into anime, totally watch this. It's fantastic. It is not your typical show. And I'll leave it at that. Oh, I did try to get Dave to watch it, and he doesn't want to. He can get a free account on Crunchyroll. I told him, I said the commercials kind of kill it, because it's like 6 minutes of commercials for like a 20-minute episode. You kind of get inundated with that. It drives you nuts. But it is a damn good show.
Dre's above the commercials.
Well, my little brother, big shout out to you, Sammy, has a Crunchyroll account he pays for and gave me access, so I was able to give that. And Lana and I, my teen daughter, she and I are huge fans of the show.
Okay. So there you go, Crunchyroll. There you guys get it. So now, unfortunately, I don't have any, like Dre said, I've not seen the show, so I can't really speak to it. But obviously, Dre doesn't pick losers. He doesn't pick any flops. So if Dre's giving that recommendation, it's definitely worth a try. I have a whole queue of stuff that I have to obviously review for our shows. So
I gave him homework.
He gave me homework. And the homework begins with the letter B and ends with the letter K. For those who know, you know. And actually, that's kind of that's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get off on a tangent this one time. So,
Oh, get off on a
uh,
tangent. Come on, it's a recorded episode.
I
What's
mean,
tangent about
hey,
tangent?
well, no, because let's just say the anime he has me watching for homework. There's been a lot of I've seen a lot of actually viral videos coming up where like there's like a father and son in a bookstore. The son grabs for like the book, the manga on it, and he's like, no, like you're not ready for that. Here, take this one instead. So there's plenty of those.
Just put this in the image. You don't see the name, you just see the image, and you'll understand the
What
homework
was
I
that?
gave. See, look, I have the image. I got the name there. It's got to pull his. There you go. There's his image.
Okay. Now my number 3 pick. Yes, I chose the Brothers Winchester, Supernatural. One of actually, I think it's the longest
CW show?
horror action series ever. I think it's the longest CW show ever.
Longer than X Files.
I said CW,
Okay, CW. Okay, because I was saying
and
supernatural
as I mean,
sci-fi.
if we because you mentioned X Files, let's go ahead and take a look
I'm
at
just
X
curious. No,
Files.
I'm just curious. I was just curious because I thought X Files was like the longest,
X Files, how many seasons?
or the Outer Limits. I think it was.
No, even Outer Limits doesn't go to 15 years. They brought it back a couple times.
Yeah.
So yes, so technically they did. X Files ran for only 9 seasons from 1993 to 2002. So they took
Wow.
time off. They had spaces. So they had 9 seasons, 2 more seasons in 2016 and 2018. So that only brings them to 11.
Hmm.
So other than procedural cop shows like Law and Order, uh, you know, and
NCIS.
CIS, which is like 20 some odd years now. So outside of that, anything that's kind of a fantasy show, this is the longest running.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
not to throw gasoline on the fire, but there's talk about a potential limited revival.
No.
So no,
Please.
no, but I'm putting the news out there that is a
I know.
verified news
I've
now.
heard.
But I'm just saying.
I've heard both of them have talked, and
Yeah.
I'm glad they're doing their own projects. I'm
Yeah.
just glad they're doing
Well,
their own.
they're doing their projects and also they're doing projects together. Check out the next season of The Boys when it comes out because you will
Oh, yeah.
see both
Yeah, he's been very
Jared
long.
Padalecki, Jensen Ackles, and Misha Collins, aka Castiel. They will all be in there. I mean, you've already had Bobby show up in The Boys.
He's
He
still on
does.
there. He's a senator.
Yeah. No, I think he was killed. Actually, I could be wrong.
No, he's still alive. He was alive. He was alive
Okay.
till in the current season.
Yeah.
Of Boys.
But those who don't know of Supernatural, Sam
You're
and
under a
Dean.
rock.
Huh?
You're living under a rock. I mean, 15 years.
I mean, hey, you know, they're hell. I mean, there's stuff I haven't seen that you've seen and you judge me for.
No,
It's
15
true. It's
years.
true.
You've
It's
at
true.
least caught an episode somewhere in syndication
Yeah.
on,
Well,
on TBS or something.
And the thing is, they have now Supernatural revolves around 2 brothers, one who walked away from the life, and one who is still in the life of hunting anything that harms humans, whether it's ghosts, demons, poltergeists, werewolves. I mean, you know, Jefferson Starships. It's a reference to the show. If you know, you already know. And what happens is their father, who's played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the first season, and a few other guest spots, he has gone missing. So Dean comes to Stanford to get his brother. His dad's been missing. Dad's on a hunting trip. Kind of code because of course, Sam's got his beautiful girlfriend / fiance. And what basically they go searching for the father, but find out that when they return, Sam's girlfriend is killed in the same fashion that his mother was killed. She was held up on the ceiling and engulfed in flames. This is a reference to a yellow-eyed demon that has been basically a bane to their family's existence. So Sam decides, he's got to, basically gear up with his brother and to go on the road in their 67 Impala and they're doing the family business, going from town to town, bouncing from place to place. They find clues in the newspaper, a mysterious death. They investigate. If it's something that's supernatural, they go after it. Whether it's a werewolf, shapeshifters, vampires, forget what you know about the mythology. A very small bit of what you see in monster movies is kind of applied here. They also jumped the shark. They jumped the shark and they jumped over the shark on top of the other shark when they jump it. I mean, they have broken the fourth wall. They were sent into a parallel world where they were the actors on a show called Supernatural, and they had to pretend to be those actors. They've gone back in time. They have died repeatedly and brought back. Uh, it's just when you think you have a handle on the show, there's a new curveball. They, of course, demons were there the entire time. Oh, guess what? We have angels now. And apparently, the Angels have plans for Sam and Dean. And there's all these, but there's some great performances in there. Mark Shepard, go ahead.
So Dave is going down the rabbit hole, and I have to pause. I want to pause him for a second as he goes down the rabbit hole. When you watch Supernatural, it hits a point where you've done cryptids, you've done the prototypical monsters. When you had God, and then you had Satan, and you had the angels like Castiel, and then you include all that still and go back to the regular demons. It doesn't make the show, and that's now what they were at least 9 seasons in when God became a factor in the show. Now, mind you, they've done like exorcisms and stuff like that. It's a lot for me as when I'm hearing Dave go down that I'm just like checklist. I'm in my head, I'm mentally checking up. I'm like, yeah, they killed this, they killed this, they killed that. But it's if you really, I think part of what the love of the show is, it's the brothers. That's what I want. It's that love like Dave and I have for each other. It's like Sam and Dean. That's exactly I think why I love the show.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm necessarily making a deal with the Crossroads demon for my soul. I mean, it
Well, again,
depends.
you're going deep into the
I,
lore.
I, I mean, am I in your will for the hot toys? I'm just I'm asking for a friend.
I mean, if you look at it this way, I think Dave hit a bunch of like a lot of the actors Felicia Day. You can go down the list of everybody that's been on
Mark
the show.
Pellegrino, who actually plays Lucifer in the show,
Exactly.
phenomenal. He's great at being a bad guy. He's the kind of bad guy you kind of root for. There's characters in the show that you shouldn't be rooting for, and you root for them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
The villains. A lot of the times, the villains were working with our heroes, and you were kind of like, why? But it made sense. But why? Yeah.
But also, I'm going to counter Dre. Yes, it is episodic. You do go down the list. Okay, we've battled this, we've battled that, we've battled this, but then this is created by Eric Kripke, the showrunner and writer for The Boys. So if you're into Twisted, like holy WTF, what did I just watch? How can they go even crazier? And that's what this does. Sometimes when jumping the shark works for you, now not for everyone, mind you, I'll admit that, not Supernatural.
The
Going,
Winchesters,
seeing it all the way. Okay, hey, well, I'm gonna touch on the failed spinoffs. I'm gonna touch on that in a minute.
He had one bad thing. 2 great shows, 1 bad failure.
There's more. There were several. There was about, I think, 3 or 4 backdoor pilots.
Oh no, the backdoor pilot. Like the one that should have happened was the werewolf one that we should have got in Chicago. Yeah. That should have freaking happened.
Yeah, there was that. I mean, we had the brother and sister witches.
What about the female hunters? The 2 of them, like where they
the
like
Wayward sisters. The Wayward sisters.
Were they like an aunt and niece or something like that? Like I remember that the 2 of them, like they were like the one was like older, kind of crotchety but funny. Like she was that like 45-year-old woman that was kind of like I've seen shit, and I remember the niece was like a younger kind of hip girl, and they were like both hunters, and I remember they were supposed to get like their own spin-off show
Well,
going.
are you thinking of Ellen from the bar? Her and her daughter?
I think so. I think they were supposed to get their own show.
Yeah,
There
but
was rumors.
there was speculation, but nothing was actually done behind the scenes with that.
And they should have, bro.
Uh,
You like her. I like her too.
there was because Ellen and her daughter Joe, because Joe kind of had like an unspoken thing between her and Dean, and of course they
Mhm.
die and everything else. And that's another thing. Characters you think are dead can come back. And that's the thing. Nobody is necessarily gone for good. They even deal with the multiverse, other dimensions. Uh, there's a lot of likable characters. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in the show. Jumping the Shark, for me, I love the show from Jump Point, and this was another show that survived the WB CW transfer.
It did.
And coincidentally, guess what? Jensen Ackles was on Smallville.
It was.
Yep, he was on Smallville. I
was going to also add one thing.
Yes.
I don't know if this was your favorite episode. For me, one of my favorite episodes was when they tried to redo the scene from the Gremlin on the airplane, where the two of them were in the suits and they were on the plane and they were sleeping, and then they tried to. There's something on the wing.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. They tried to do that Twilight Zone episode. I will never forget that episode. It still gives me it makes me get chills because they did it so almost verbatim with the way they filmed it. Like Kripke was brilliant when he did that.
And Dean was not a fan of flying, so they threw that in there. There's a lot of comedy in this show too, because these guys are brothers. They are pranking the shit out of each other left and right. Dean is, he's a little bit behind in the times because he idolized his dad, so he plays nothing but rock music in his car. It's a tape deck. At one point he is gone, comes back after a long time, and finds that Sam has he's got like a CD player or MP3 adapter jacked in and playing all different kinds of music. Like there's really funny stuff. There's scenes where they had bad luck all of a sudden, and Dean, Jensen Ackles does a great job. He has jump scares that happen. There's one infamous one you can see on YouTube and on viral clips of a cat popping up, and he's just screaming like a little girl. It's hilarious. That's the thing. There's a lot of comedy. There's camaraderie, and I mean, like we even said, you have people who, characters who shouldn't be teaming up. It's hilarious when you see Castiel and Crowley partnering up. It is friggin' hilarious. It's Odd Couple time.
And for those for those of you that are into demonology and into satanic worship, or into that have an interest in those things, a lot of this show pays homages to those characters with those names. Like Crowley, everybody knows Aleister Crowley was very big into the occult, very big into the world of the occult, and obviously making him what they called a crossroads demon in the show. He is perfect. The actor, obviously, for those of you that are fans of Doctor
Mark
Who,
Shepard.
Yeah, if you're fans of Doctor Who, you're fans
Battlestar Galactica.
If you're fans of BBC shows,
Firefly.
He was in Luther. He was in
he's in
Sherlock.
everything.
He was in Sherlock Holmes, the BBC show. Yeah. You guys can find him in a lot. He's just phenomenal. I just wanted to put.
He's just got that voice.
You gotta also realize that the show is long. It is not something you're gonna binge. If it's the show you binge, it's the only show you binge. Each season was 22 to 26 episodes.
Yep. And they did finish at the finale. They filmed it during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So the very final episode, if you feel that the last episode doesn't measure in some respects, or that you wish certain scenes were supposed to happen, that was due to COVID, because this show is filmed in Vancouver. So it's filmed in Canada. So there were restrictions with how many people you can have in scenes. So there was restrictions with that because then you got to figure let's say you have 3 or 4 people in the scene. Imagine that you got to multiply that by 4 or 5 times for the film crew, okay, and the writers and everything. So there were issues that they kind of had to alter many things for sake of COVID. And some people, maybe you had trouble with your visas getting over from the US or from the UK to come over to Canada to finish filming it. So there was a lot of restrictions. They did a good job with the way they did it. They did an homage, I think, to a lot of people there. It's just that it just felt like they didn't stick it the way they wanted it to. But I think it also left things open for spin-offs, not necessarily reboots or not necessarily a continuation, but let's just say other people within the universe could carry it on for those wayward sons. There was a ill-fated one-season show called The Winchesters, which takes place in an alternate universe. I did not see that, but I happen to know
Not alternate universe. It wasn't.
it technically is. It technically is an alternate universe.
Wow, because that's not how
Did,
the show was
did,
ever
did,
presented to me
did you
when I
watch
watched
it?
it. I watched the entire season.
Okay.
It was not. That's what I'm saying. Like I watched all 15 seasons of Supernatural.
The Winchester show, you have different people portraying characters, right? And also you have Dean and Bobby meddling with that universe. So it's not
but it
them.
wasn't.
It's not them going back in time or anything. It did treat it as a separate universe, as part of that multiverse.
See, I wouldn't have. I didn't view it as such. When I saw
Yeah.
the Winchesters, I viewed it as the way they were storytelling from back because they knew not to meddle. Like they knew that their dad's coming home, and they knew that the mom. It switched. It didn't switch the idea, but it kind of gives you a reason to why Gold Eyes targeted
Yellow
the
Eyes.
mom. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Yellow Eyes targeted the mom, and that's kind of to me. It was mostly that play on it, and the weird, like not romantic relationship between their mom and dad because their mom and dad were very adversarial to each other, which is kind
Yeah.
of funny, and I liked it. But again, I knew that show was fated to fail because there was you'd done everything in Supernatural, rehashing it and just telling us you had to do it needed something. It needed
It was like Star Wars in a prequel series. Did you really
yes.
need to do that?
You did
Not
it.
really.
No, yeah, but they still gave us something different. We got Darth Maul. Like they played up on something. This universe
Yeah.
needed like that show needed the
And
Salt Bay. It needed
and
something on it. I don't know
it
what
it
it was
it,
though.
from what I've seen of it, it definitely needed something extra. But the thing is, you're doing it directly off the coattails of this 15-year
Journey.
journey. I mean, the road so far. I mean, it's kind of hard to do that. Now, if they would have done, maybe going back, let's do a different setting. Let's do maybe not John and Mary, but maybe her father when he was a young man.
That would have been
Okay.
cool, like the grandfather, like and you go
Yeah.
into him, like why he taught Mary the
Yes.
skills.
John.
That
Yeah.
that would have been that would and you if
Sam.
you ended
Sam
that
Campbell.
so
Yeah.
if you ended that show where that was how I saw it, like I would have been okay with that. But the fact that there
Yeah.
was it was the best, I think the best spin-off, and I read this article a couple nights ago, was the anime, which I
Yeah.
watched.
There is a anime of Supernatural. Uh, there have been some books. Also, the irony, like I said, Jensen Ackles was part of Smallville. Guess who played Mary Campbell's father in the Winchester series? Tom Welling.
So it's I think that Supernatural suffered from
Its
what
own success.
it did. An Arrow, and I'm going to say Stephen Amell was doing wrestling because if for those of you that don't know, Cody Rhodes showed up in there when he went to AEW, and AEW was at its inception toward the end of the Arrow run. And Arrow's like Amel said it. He's like, I'm gonna do this till I think we've gone too far. And when he got to season 5, he said, I don't think we have many seasons left. I think we've covered everything Oliver can do. And then when they finally ended it, I think it was good. Flash, many people agree season 9 of Flash is the worst season of the show, where because I think it went too long. There was, if you leave it open and say, hey, we'll come back and do exactly what Dave said, you do a movie. Supernatural could have benefited from the 80s treatment. If you ended at season 10, when they introduced God and the angels and God leaving and the angels taking over and the demons, that to me would have been the perfect way to end the series, or leave it open for you to say, let's do a movie to tie this up. And then like wait a couple years and say, hey, you know what? Let's do a revival. Let's get another movie. Because now both these actors are doing their own projects. You have he's doing what was it? Jared is doing the Walker
Jared?
Texas Ranger. You got
No,
Jensen
no,
Ackles.
no, no, no. Walker's gone. They canceled that.
Well, he did 4 seasons of it, so I'm just saying
He's on actually right now. Jared is on that. There's a CW show, or sorry, a CBS show. It's like Forest Firefighters. He's on that show right now. Jensen was appearing on Tracker, but he's got a new show that's in the works right now in development. That's supposed to be coming out sometime, I think, this fall. So
plus he's working on The Boys.
They're both working on The Boys. Of all things, Jensen, or not Jensen, but Jared is supposed to be a speedster. I'm not sure how that's going to fly.
That'd be interesting.
He's a tall ass speedster. I mean, come on.
I mean, they're both tall guys, so it's going to be interesting. But yeah,
but I mean, like, if they did something, it would be hard. And anyone who hasn't watched the show, you're gonna be like, well, what do you mean? How would it be hard? I can't go into details without spoiling things for you.
Yeah,
but I will say this: they made the show, they ended the show with such a conclusion. Okay, because one of the big songs, because there was a lot of classic rock and 90s alternative was played throughout this entire show, with the exception of one episode. They played a Swift song, but we won't go there. But the big song and a big favorite of mine is Kansas's "Carry On Wayward Son," and they kind of paid homage with that. I mean,
several times throughout the show. They ended seasons.
There was that musical, but like, I mean, you got to figure these guys are on the road, they're fighting evil. How are they going to rest? And I will say this: the very last episode, there's certain plots or certain situations in that final episode that's like, really, this is how you're concluding things, and that may rub some people the wrong way, but it's not necessarily the destination, it is the journey. For me, this is a show. I mean, hell, I just binged it like a month ago. I binged it all the way through. And I mean, for me, it's something that I really loved. I really enjoyed. They had really great chemistry.
They still do. These
are guys who, you work with someone for 15 freaking years. You're closer to them than you might be to some of your actual family. And ironically, they both met their wives on that show.
Mm-hmm. And their kids their kids play together. It's like if you follow them on Instagram, they're very much in each other's lives, and a lot of them, both of them are involved in
them
the project
and Misha. Yeah,
exactly.
Jared, Jensen, and Misha. I mean, they're very close, and that's the thing. I mean, they said that they would be open to it, but only if it's written in such a way that it does justice and not betraying. This is something that Dre and I have talked about before, and I've talked with other people about. Look at the Marvel universe. There's a talk about Robert Downey Jr. coming back. How do you bring him back without betraying Tony Stark's sacrifice? That's the thing. If you bring Sam and Dean back, how do you keep things contained? Canon wise, how do you keep that timeline without destroying and undoing, you know,
15 years worth of work.
the story. I mean, you have to, and those, there might be people who are Supernatural fans watching this, and you're like, well, wait a minute, yeah, just I just want this. No, you have to be careful, because if you do it as, hey, we're bringing them back and they're going to be in this situation, well, why does this work, and can this interfere? Because there's certain things that happen in the show that if you bring them back, that kind of undoes everything, kind of undoes a sacrifice or undoes certain acts. Now, I could see if you kind of bring them out of time, so to speak. I could see something like that, but it wouldn't. I don't think it would. Dre shaking his head at me before I can finish my thought.
No, finish your thought. I'm just shaking my head no, because
I'm
I have my
yeah,
own thought.
because it wouldn't fly with the fans. The fans, when it comes down to it, I mean, there are people who go to Supernatural conventions all the time now.
Oh yeah.
A certain nerd has 3D printed his own Angel Blade from Supernatural plenty of times. He's trying to work on the actual revolver, but that's a whole other story. I mean, Supernatural's still very alive out there, and they love interacting with the cast. Loves interacting with the fans, but they would have to be careful on how they. Now, I could see them trying to tell a story from further back. That's the only thing I could see them doing. Take something that maybe takes place in between season 6 and 7 or 9 and 10. You'd have to do something that kind of does that. I think that's the only way the fans would be receptive towards it. You can't continue forward. If you continue forward, it would have to be with their kids, and that's my bottom line, because, well, Dave's Dimension said so. Go ahead, Dre. Rebuttal.
The only thing I'm going to say about this, so we can move on, would be I think that for doing anything where I don't want them to screw up the universe, much like the anime did. The anime kind of was a summation of the two season 1 and season 2,
Yeah.
and a lot of original content. I think if you did something animated, like an animated movie, that's a side story that would be in between the universe of what they were doing already. That was a pre-established thing. I think an animated movie would do really, really well.
Lower production cost, and you could still give the stars the money that they would be asking for too. Let's be honest. So that from a financial end would look good.
Well, yeah, but I think more from a fan perspective, it would still keep that ending contained, and you'd still be able to tell a new story within the pre-established universe that would have been could affect how their interactions would be, and it would be a good little nod to the fans. Like, for those of you that are new to the show, enjoy it for what it is. But
yes.
It's a lot. I think we could even dedicate a whole episode to this show, because it's very heavy. It's a lot of themes and discussions. So I think it's a lot. I love
angels, demons, clowns. It's a whole thing, guys.
So exactly, music, cars, guns, masculinity.
Let's roll out. Forward.
So, oh wait,
there we go.
Yeah. So I never wanted to watch this show, Sons of Anarchy. Never wanted to. Why? So I'm going to explain why. I had zero interest. My little brother said to me, and this was right after our dad passed away. He said to me, I think you need to sit and watch this show. He had just started watching like 3 seasons in, and he was like, dude, you need to watch it. And it's 10 seasons. And I was like, man, I don't really care about motorcycles. I'm not really into it. He's like, Dre, watch it. I love Charlie Hunnam. At the time, Charlie Hunnam, DC was courting him to be the Green Arrow, and I was excited about it. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Oh my goodness, my life was completely enraptured in this show. I've never been so interested in in the motorcycle culture, the biker gang culture, than I was when watching this show, because you're watching it from so many different perspectives. You're watching it because everybody that's around Jax, Charlie Hunnam's character, is got an ulterior motive. His mom, his girl, his wife, his girlfriend and his wife, and then other the MC have each of them is like working against with each other. Some of them are working against him. It's it's not like motorcycles and just that. It's got a whole family that's dysfunctional, and you're trying to figure out how he should be the one that should be running it. Like the old saying goes, "Heavy is the head of who wears the crown." And Jax technically isn't the one who wears the crown. Ron Perlman is, because Ron Perlman is like kind of like there's a lot of, and I don't want to kill it for anybody. There is a lot of subtext to their dysfunctional relationship as stepfather and like stepson, and there's a lot of double crossing, a lot of under the table things, but it is great in so many ways. It is
Would you say it's kind of King Arthur almost in a way?
it's very more Macbeth. I feel it's
Okay.
more Macbeth than I feel like King Arthur. I feel like it's got more of this kind of
Since Charlie wasn't King Arthur.
well, yeah, I feel it's more Shakespearean. There's a lot of undertones and other characters that you don't pay attention to, but they're just as important as the main cast. And like I said, you get sucked in every season. It's just you're wondering who's gonna do what, and it's very Sopranos. It's very much the Sopranos. It's very much like you're like oh shit, like what's happening here? Why is this happening? Why is this person in jail? What's going on here? Oh my god, like why is his wife trying to do this? It's like it's so it enraptures so much, and then it spawned a secondary series, which didn't do nearly as well, but for me, I think was equally as good because the Mayans, which was the rival gang that became kind of like allied gang to them, they controlled all of the West Coast. So it was a lot more Mexican influence. A lot of the characters are of Hispanic origin. It's all run as a Mexican kind of like MC, Motorcycle Club, for those that didn't know that. And Mayans was a great show. It kind of went off the rails in season 4 and season 5. I think it was better for seasons 1, 2, and 3. But again, I think it's a good. It's one of those shows that I can rewatch it and find something new and love the show even more. All the actors were fantastic. The subplots were fantastic. It is I recommend it to anybody that doesn't even, if you don't have an interest in that, but do have an interest in, again, character development, character subplots and subtext, this is the show for you.
Dre's gonna hate me because I've never saw it, and I've
Oh, no,
never had
you told me you didn't see it yesterday, so I want you to watch it.
and I never had an interest, believe it or not. Even though you have Ron Perlman, you have Katie Seagal playing his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie himself is a good actor. He's been is it the one movie The Gentleman? I think the name of the movie was.
Yes.
He's a great actor, but I never got into it. My cousin, I have a cousin Megan. She is a diehard Sons of Anarchy fan. I mean, she would constantly post about the show all the time. So I know a lot of people love the show, but for me, I don't know. Maybe I was watching too much stuff at the time, so I never had an interest in it. Me personally, you know. But I'm aware of the Mayan spinoff. I am aware of, the popularity of Sons of Anarchy itself. They had a lot of great actors in the show itself. It's just that it was just something that never, I don't know, it just never appeared on my radar.
I tell you, it didn't appear on my radar until my little brother told me, I think you should watch it. I know you now. You would like. And when I sat and I watched it, I was thoroughly hooked.
Yeah, but see,
it took an episode or two to really warm me up to the show, but once I got warmed up, you're hitting the ground running.
Yeah, but see that's one big difference. I don't listen to my little brothers.
Well, see, I wouldn't always. He doesn't always make great recommendations, but he knows my personality well enough to know if a show's going to gel with me. And this show,
which personality?
The one I let everybody see.
Okay.
The normal.
Okay. my Leo Getz impersonation. Okay.
Oh
Uh,
God, that's bringing it back right there.
so whoa, go back. So I went with. I didn't just pick one show. I had to break the rules. I had to break the rules, as it were. I had to go with the Netflix Marvelverse, which are the Netflix series of Marvel shows, because essentially they ultimately did culminate together. They were a shared universe. You had Jessica Jones. You had well, first it was Daredevil, then we had Jessica Jones, then we had Luke Cage, you know, and then of course, we had, of course we had Iron Fist, we had of course Punisher. Iron Fist probably the low point of the entire multiverse, if you will, or the entire shared universe for them.
The Defenders
Uh,
universe.
yeah, well, they eventually became the Defenders in the end. Uh, Definitely, I mean, for me, I loved Daredevil. Let's be honest, everyone loves Daredevil. Uh, well, there are some out there who may not care for the current iteration of it because maybe there's a lack of comic book action for their taste, but that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their
The
opinions.
Netflix one did the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
those the backdrops for when Bullseye and
Yep.
Fisk and the baseball references, that was boring as all hell to me.
Yeah.
But it was necessary to tell a story.
Um, I mean, Jessica Jones. I love the twistedness of Kilgrave, played brilliantly by David Tennant.
Love him.
I mean, and the fact that Dre knows my favorite out of all these is Luke Cage.
Season one, Luke Cage, best season,
Luke
best show.
Luke Cage friggin' killed it between the acting, the writing, the friggin' music. As
That's
someone who was a DJ once upon a time, the music is a highlight. They have some new, they have some modern hip hop in there, but they also have the classics. They're playing homage to like KRS One. I mean, it just it slaps like there's no tomorrow, but you're not bored by everything, you know. And if you're a fan of these comic book characters, they are true. They're true to themselves. I mean, John Barenthal is the Punisher. Need I say friggin' more? I mean, this is if you took every cinematic version of Punisher, wrapped it up together. Barenthal takes that and clocks it up to 11.
oh yeah,
Okay.
most
I
definitely.
mean, I would say a lot of him is, I'd say, a good cross between Thomas Jane, a little bit of Thomas Jane because he actually trains with him, but a lot of it is more Warzone. This is Punisher really taken to the way he is in the comics. John Barenthal, I think, freaking kills it. He kills it in there. Uh, Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock is
Fantastic.
frigging killing it. I
Ritter
mean,
did a great job too as Jessica Jones.
the
Love her.
costume designs, the everything. I mean, Luke Cage. I mean, I don't. They had that show better have been sponsored by Carhartt because all the damn hoodies they went through, man. They're no freaking joke right there. Um, Again, Iron Fist. I do have to touch base on Iron Fist. It could have been better. Hopefully, our MCU version of it will be better. Um, Sadly, I don't necessarily agree with. There's been a lot of controversy lately with the actor who played Danny, that he deserves a insert expletive, curse word here, that he deserves another chance. Um, I honestly, I've always been someone who says that if shows don't do well, it could be the acting, it could be the writing, it could be the direction of it. But honestly, Iron Fist just it felt flat to me. But for the entire universe itself, it's a home run. I mean, we get some intense banger scenes uh, with Joan Barenthal's Punisher. I mean, Jessica Jones, we get like a total in your face, just get out of my face. Someone who is a reluctant hero, she is amazing in it. And I'm glad that we're going to seeing a sprinkle of her come back for season 2 of Daredevil. It's just this is something I have binged. God, probably 8 or 10 times already. Like, this is something I can watch over and over again, and I do watch it in order because I am that nerd. I am that nerd to watch it in order, and you can look up the order online, what order to watch those shows. But they're great as standalone shows, but they are connected to each other because they do have one or two characters who actually travel across all the shows. So it's definitely worth it. And I'm sure Dre, when Dre comes back, we'll have a few more thoughts and opinions on that. But to me, it's a home run. This right now, even rewatching this is probably better than most of the content Marvel has been doing through Disney and Disney Plus, with the exception of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and with the exception of the current Daredevil series, and with the exception of the animated Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Aside from that, this is still some of the strongest Marvel content you'll come around. We don't see Thor, we don't see Iron Man. We hear a few, references to those characters, but they were not present in this. They weren't present in the show. So I enjoyed the hell out of it personally, and I will enjoy the hell out of it again when I binge it. Go.
So my thoughts on this show, or the series of shows, I absolutely loved Luke Cage. I loved Daredevil. And I might preface it like this: I think the first season for each of the shows was very good. I think season 2 for Jessica Jones was not as good. I don't think season 2 for Luke Cage was great. I think season 2 for Punisher was great because it led into what was going on in Daredevil. But I think that third season of Punisher was kind of a throwaway. That little girl was kind of that was tagging along for the entire show. Did not care for it. And Iron Fist, I get it because they're trying to pay an homage to the original Danny Rand from the comics, and the whole concept of the guys that were the street defenders, the street level heroes, as they call them in the MCU. Do I think he deserves a second chance? Yes. I do know that Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time is going to give us a new Iron Fist, which could possibly become the Iron Fist. For those of you that play Marvel Rivals, Swordmaster becomes the Iron Fist, takes the mantle, and no longer wields the sword. He's out of the Agents of Atlas. So that's from the actual comic book lore. So could that be a bringing back of and I don't want to say this and sound very negative, but it could be bringing back the race of the character being more Asian, as in Swordmaster's Korean, and it could tie in more to Kunlun, and to, instead of having Danny Rand, and then they had the Indian actor that played his rival from Kunlun that did not do, it was just terrible in season 2. But I'm going to digress. Like, I don't want to sit and harp on it. Daredevil was fantastic. First 2 seasons were great. Third season was terrible. Like I said, I think Netflix didn't know what to do because they were trying to scrap and figure out how to get, not only, like, Defenders was fantastic, and we were clamoring for more. And hopefully now, with it all being in the MCU, we'll get it. But I don't know when. So I'm not going to hold my breath. It is what it is.
We at least got Punisher in Daredevil. We're supposed to get that is in the Daredevil Born Again.
He's getting a special. He's getting like a special treatment, like Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night supposedly is getting his own treatment again.
Yep.
So So there's MCU is they're paying attention, but they have to try to keep within continuity because they're filming Spider-Man right now. They're filming Doomsday right now. They're writing for the TV shows, and they're trying to figure out how to make sure the stories do not leak. So I love the Netflix universe that they gave us. I'm glad that the MCU was able to take it back. Thank you, Netflix, for gracing the MCU back with their property, much like Fox did with Daredevil and Wolverine, or Deadpool and Wolverine. Yep. Love that. That's like the perfect handoff. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. I think you can't really add more to that without us going into a whole reason why the MCU, and we've done that already. So now the number 1 picks. I will 100% die on this hill. This is not a kid show. Do not have your children watch the show. There are too many kids that I know that are like young teens that have watched this show and know who Walter White is. They should not. This
Come
show
on,
is
Curious George. They hit a guy in all yellow suit. Come on, it's nice and kid friendly.
this is not Heisenberg, Walter White. It's this show by
It's not
far.
Malcolm in the Middle.
It's definitely not. And they make jokes in continuity to that show in Breaking Bad, which I love. I absolutely love. But for anyone, and I can't tell you the story because if I tell you the story, I
It
kill the
ruins it.
show. I kill the show for you. You need to watch Breaking Bad. Do you need to watch Better Call Saul? No.
No.
You can to understand his relationship with Heisenberg later. And when I say Heisenberg, that's the gentleman Walter White. That's his alter ego. So, what do you get when you get a disgruntled man that doesn't know what to do with his life?
He
And
goes on YouTube. What? Oh, sorry.
he starts making drugs. Is what happens. I'm not going to tell you the backstory to Walter White because I don't want to give you that level of history into it. Why? It ruins the mystique of the character. It ruins why the show is good. Again, another show my little brother recommended to me, and I had zero interest in it. Like, I never watched it when AMC aired it. I never got into it. I fell absolutely head over heels in love with this show because it does everything I love, from the police procedurals to the drama to the action to even body horror and gore. Yes, I'm going to go down that route, folks, because there are
Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito. Moff Gideon did a great job, and I'm just going to tell you, body horror episode with him in it, like complete body horror, and people, I was not ready for it. I was definitely donuts ready to watch this show, but it is absolutely
It's
hands
intense.
down one of the most intense, in-depth shows that when they ended it, people were pissed off. They gave us a completion episode to go say, let's really tie the knot, say, hey, we finished it, and it ended. And I will say thank you to the directors for doing what The Sopranos didn't do, because I love The Sopranos, and that should have made this list because it could have. It did not. And Breaking Bad is a show that I can literally sit. Now, obviously, I would probably sit with Lana now more than I would have sat years ago. I wouldn't have sit with Lana. Could probably watch the show and get in the humor. The humor is a lot. There's a lot of humor in it, but there's a lot of adult themes. Now, for AMC,
Oh, yes.
for anybody that watches AMC now, a lot of The Walking Dead, like Dead City, Daryl Dixon, there's cursing. There's a lot more violence. There's a little bit of sexual themes that they do throw in those shows now because they have AMC Plus, where that show goes. But then they
And then
have
eventually goes to Netflix.
then they have the edited versions of those shows that go on regular broadcast television. So, or cable, I should say, broadcast on or cable networks. So I like that they did separate those two for people. Breaking Bad does not do that. From season 1 to the end of the show, and then the final kind of chapter of Breaking Bad, I think it's a great show start to finish. You really end up being a fan of Walter White, even though by all rights and privileges you should not. I'm going to say this: you should not be a fan of this guy. This guy should not be the MC. Like, we should not be like, yes, we're rooting for you. You choose to root for him because of the way worse shit that's in the show that goes after Walter White.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave that idea there. Now, like I said, Better Call Saul, great show, great spinoff show. I think it gave me a lot more depth and description for the characters that were briefly shown in later seasons of Breaking Bad that I wanted to get more love for. Again, it ended kind of abruptly because there was a lot of the writer strikes recently, and the pandemic and all that other stuff just ruined a lot of how the continuity for the show. Again, you can watch it. It's a good. I think it's a good perspective for the Breaking Bad universe. For if you want to see something more procedural on Saul's character than just watching Breaking Bad. So, 110%, I could rewatch this. I've recommended it to other people. Other people I've talked to have watched this and binge watched it several times because they said that is their show. Like, it's a rainy day. I need something with a little bit of action, a little bit of story. I'm gonna watch this. Sons of Anarchy, same thing. It's like you mentioned those two shows, people will gravitate to it. It is not your typical procedural in the sense of don't think of this show and say, oh, I'm watching a story about a family. You are, but you're not. You're not watching a show about the mafia. You are, but you're not. You're watching a show about this character and his partner and how they have this dysfunctional father-son relationship. That's the main MCs of the show. Go into the other things, which I'm not going to ever, I can't say it because YouTube would axe our video, but you see him sitting on a stack of money. You see him wearing a yellow jumpsuit. Google why there's stacks of money. I'm just going to leave it at that because the algorithm for YouTube will axe our episode and dox us. So we don't want that. So I'm going to leave it at just watch the show, give it its flowers, and then watch Better Call Saul.
In honor of the suit, I just changed our color scheme to yellow. Breaking Bad. I mean, we get some heavy hitters. Giancarlo Esposito, Jonathan Banks.
Well, Giancarlo, we don't get him in season 1. We don't get him till season 3 or 4. So just for people that were like, oh, it's
Dean Norris. Dean Norris, who plays Hank.
Yeah, he was great.
These are people you've seen in movies and TV shows for years and years. You don't know them by name. But when you see their face, you're, oh, that's him. I mean, Dean Norris, he was actually in the original Total Recall. Coincidentally, Bryan Cranston was in the reboot. The not so great reboot, but that's a whole other story unto itself. Bob Odenkirk, who of course is Better Call Saul. People probably know him most notably. He's been in TV shows and movies over the years, but he blew up with Nobody.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
And I think aren't they doing Nobody too, or is it already?
It's in post production.
But I mean, we get a lot of amazing people in here, and this is something where you start off in episode 1, and like Dre said, there's situations that we're not gonna tell you about, either for YouTube's sake or because we don't want it to spoil it. We want you to go on the journey, and he does go on a journey. Again, let's be honest, we love it when there's a character you should not be rooting for that you wind up rooting for.
Yeah, you really shouldn't. Like, I 110%.
You get invested. You get invested in this. And I think that's the safest way.
Can I say one thing? His wife, I really wanted to root for his wife until she started acting the way she did. And then I was like, give it to her. Get her ass. Like, there's a lot, folks. There's a lot of things in this show as you see the seasons progress that you start understanding Walter's transformation into Heisenberg. That's what I will call it.
Yeah. I mean, his character goes on such a diverse, such a transforming journey. And I mean, I want to say this, him and Jesse, they both have changed. I think Jesse grew, and he like you said, it's a father and son. Okay. It is a father and son dynamic between the two. And, they both are becoming, they're both changing, one, I think for the better for survival's sake. And the other one goes down a very dark road. And I mean, very dark. And for television, I don't think there's been a character like Heisenberg, like Walter White, played by Bryan Cranston. I don't think we've seen a character like that ever before. And it is mind-blowing. It is just riveting. It takes you down a path, a rabbit hole that you don't know, one, if you're going to come out of and where you're going to come out of. But they take it to a whole different level. This is some of the best writing in TV that we've had, probably in the past 10, 15, maybe 20 years. This is a show you sit down, you start watching it, you will be invested. You will have to watch it all the way through to the end. Plain and simple. Okay, so here we are. We're at Quantum Leap. Now, this show is from 1989. NBC, it is a victim of the dreaded, hey, let's move this show around to different time slots and different days. I mean, from Mondays to Wednesdays to Thursdays to Fridays, it was all over the place, and that was a victim. And back in 1989 to 1993, I was in grade school. I was in grade school to junior high. I always loved time travel. I mean, Back to the Future, the Time Machine. I mean, anything that has to do with time travel, I'm down for. Okay. This was a show. The concept was, and those who are familiar with my channel, a couple of years ago, there was a reboot or a kind of a soft reboot for Quantum Leap, and I was doing a weekly show called the Leapcast. So I am very passionate when it comes to Quantum Leap. Dr. Sam Beckett, played by Scott Bakula. Ironically, they have the same initials, go figure. And this is from Don Belisario, who gave us Magnum PI. And actually, coincidentally, there was supposed to be an episode where he leaps into Magnum, but that never happened. Don Belisario gave us so many amazing shows, chiefly JAG, which, of course, then begat the longest-running military police show, NCIS. So obviously, no big shocker there. Belisario also had to do with Battlestar Galactica and so many others. So, but the series revolved around Dr. Sam Beckett. He is a brilliant scientist with doctorates in many fields of science, including medical, but he was chiefly a quantum physicist. He believed that he could create a way to travel through time. Now, he was working on a government project called Project Quantum Leap with a military advisor, Admiral Albert Calavici. Now, pressured to prove his theories or lose funding, Dr. Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator and he vanished. He awoke to find himself in the past, facing mirror images that were not his own. He found himself lost backwards in time. So now, with the help of his counterpart, Admiral Calavici, who is transmitted back to Sam in the past via a holographic interface, basically. He appears in the form of a hologram that only Sam can see and hear. And using their future technology, he helps Sam to try and figure out what Sam is meant to do. Sam is stuck in the past. He leaps into somebody's body. And he has to make right what once went wrong, hoping each time that, whatever he changes for the better, hoping that will then allow him to leap and potentially maybe leap home someday. Throughout the course of the series, he did make it home once, but he went back to time traveling because his friend Al had took his place, and Al was about to die. This was a do-gooder. This was a guy who, he was a Boy Scout in every sense of the word. He didn't see race. He didn't see, he didn't see color. He didn't see, one time he leaped into a paraplegic. He leaped into someone with Down syndromes. He did not see race. He did not see any kind of limitations or any kind of prejudice. For someone who was born in 1953, this is kind of a refreshing take on it, especially someone from the Midwest. So for him, he was leaping from life to life. He leaped into a woman. He even leaped into a chimpanzee in the space program once. No joke. Now this was a drama. This wasn't a comedy necessarily. There were some funny moments, but this is more of a serious comedy. The only sci-fi aspect was him jumping into a person's life, but when he looks into the mirror image, he's seeing them and not himself. And the only other aspects were his holographic friend Al, who also had limitations on what he could give Sam as far as knowledge. and he even got himself in a few troubles a few times. But this was about someone who is going from life to life, trying to make things right. It was kind of a trope of so many shows we've seen over the years. Airwolf, A Team, the lonely stranger that goes from one town to the next, and he
Incredible
finds
Hulk, Knight Rider,
Kung Fu, Kung Fu.
Kung Fu Legend
I mean,
continues. Yeah,
the Highwayman. I mean, Highway to Heaven. I mean, so many different shows that had the trope of the lonely good do-gooder who goes from town to town, finds a situation, and he's trying to do his best to make things better. Sam had no superpowers. He got shot, he got cut, he got beat up. One time he was about to fry in the electric chair. One very monumental episode throughout that series, he leaps into Sam Biederman in a mental institution and gets the electroshock as he's leaping in. As he gets the electroshock, it basically causes him to have an amnesia. And all the people that he's leapt into, parts of their egos are kind of stuck in his mind. So every time he leaps into someone, it's almost like exhaust fumes. Okay. It's almost like, if your car was leaking oil, you have a trace of that, right? And that's what happened with Sam. Everyone he's leaped into, part of them were still inside his mind. And during that episode, everyone he leaped into, he was taking on their personalities again. So it made the people in the mental hospital think he was schizophrenic. And sadly, the only way he could get out of this situation and regain his memory was to go through electroshock again. But one of the reasons why he needed to do this was he was losing contact with Al, his only contact to the future. And that culminated in him getting electroshock, but Al leaps with him, and then they traded places. This to me was one of those amazing shows. As someone who's grown up in the late 80s, this showed you that, a person doesn't have to have powers to make a difference. One person can make a difference in other people's lives. You do something good for someone, that person might do something good for someone else, and that person may do something good for someone else, and it creates a pedal or a ripple effect in the pond. You toss a stone in the pond, it touches ripples and other ripples. You touch a lot of people's lives just by doing something good. And Sam Beckett, the character of Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap, is something that I probably have binged easily 20, if not 30 times. This is something that was very important in my life. I actually watched the final seasons of Quantum Leap. I watched with my mother when it was on broadcast TV on NBC, believe it or not. So it has some importance to me on that level. But I always kind of saw, like, when I was in high school, when I was junior high and going into high school, this is who I wanted to be. I wanted to be the person who could go into any situation and help people and help make a difference, which it informed a lot of things in my life. My high school years, I worked at a roller rink. My DJ name was actually DJ Leap because of Quantum Leap. To me, this is still, yes, this is very dated, but it's a time travel show that takes place in the past. So it doesn't matter if it's dated or not. The writing, I think, was on point for the time. You deal with him leaping into, like I said, someone with Down syndromes. He's leaped into multiple women. He leaped into Dr. Ruth Westheimer. He's leaped into shock jocks. He's leaped into, he leaped into a escaped killer. He's leaped into his best friend Al. He even leaped into his younger self, trying to prevent his father from dying of smoking, trying to prevent his younger sister from meeting some douchebag down the line who would then be abusive towards her. He tried so hard to make things better for his home life, including saving his brother from Vietnam, that he just felt like he was a complete failure. But he does actually wind up saving his brother, which is, it's just going against the odds. Like I said, this is a guy with no powers, with just his Swiss cheese memory, because of him leaping through life, he has gaps in his memory. He doesn't remember every single thing. And that's kind of the struggle. Like, there's one episode, he's like, I can't remember my phone number, my family's phone number. He wants to try and call his parents because he's in the past. He could hear their voices again. What would you give to be able to do that? And his buddy Al's like, I can't give you that information. He breaks the rules. He does. But I mean, it's just that kind of like Dre said about Golden Girls. It's just something that resonated and just was something that was a part of you. Quantum Leap, that was a part of me. Still is.
It's a hell of a great reason to love the show. I mean, for me, the memory I have. So as a kid growing up, my parents, we had this large house, and I remember I had we had like a guest bedroom that we had the TV in, but I had my game systems in there. So my bedroom, I didn't have a TV in. I wasn't allowed to. And I remember I was young when Quantum Leap was out. So I remember my mom would get mad because at night because it used to be on at 10 o'clock or 10:30 on NBC. So I would I would grab my TV and I would roll it into my room because we had it on a roller system. So I would try to roll it in, and if my mom was asleep already, or if she was if she fell asleep in the living room or something, I'd roll it in my room and I would try to keep the TV really low. I used to have big can headphones I'd plug into the TV so it wouldn't be loud. And a couple times I fell asleep. My mom would wake up in the morning and see the TV. I get in trouble, grounded because I did that. But I was like, Mom, I had to watch Quantum Leap, and she's like, was it worth it? I'm like, not to be a smart ass, but I was like, yeah, it was. But that, of course, I didn't say that then. But I mean, this show was sci-fi for me. It was a great. I mean, you had at the same time you had Trek, the original Trek with Shatner. You had very little in the sense of modern sci-fi coming out at that time. And Quantum Leap was a good NBC show for me to watch. My dad really liked it. I really liked it. It is a part of my childhood. It's a part of my
Mhm.
young adulthood of growing up. I remember I caught a lot. Sadly, because I was a kid, I wasn't able to catch finales of shows because again, I had a curfew. So it wasn't till syndication as an adult and in DVD releases subsequently later that I was able to buy these things and sit and really watch the final and be surprised because yeah, TBS and TNT, not HBO, but other networks on cable would get these shows and they would
Yeah.
re-air them. Like Sci-Fi Channel would put it on.
USA and Sci-Fi Channel ran this in syndication back in the day.
Yeah. So I'd watch Sci-Fi Channel, but again, as an adult, I'd have to I wouldn't know what order of episodes. Like one week you're watching one episode, but it wasn't subsequently that same season.
Yeah,
So
as
they
out of
didn't air it.
sequence.
They aired things out of sequence. So a lot of the shows, it wasn't until Sliders, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, where I was a young adult teenager going into college and high school that I was able to sit down and watch these shows. Know at a time where I could pick up a TV guide. Yes, we're that old. Latchkey Kids, remember Latchkey Kids? I would be able to sit and look at a TV guide and know when it was coming out and know what episode I was getting. So for me, this is something very near and dear to my heart too. I absolutely love Scott Bakula's character. Scott Bakula became a Captain Archer. He was Captain
Yep.
Archer in Star Trek Enterprise. One of the figures EXO that I will be adding to Pike, which I'm going to be getting that figure whenever I can decide to not scrape up $500 to pick them up. But that's how much of an influence he had on television for me. Like the new Quantum Leap, I loved it just as much because it did what the show in the 80s did. It pushed barriers. It broke lines that it probably
Mhm.
in the 80s and early 90s that you couldn't really touch because it was no-nos. You didn't talk about being a man couldn't be dressed up as a woman. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
Tootsie and Miss Doubtfire and all that stuff, but you really those were major motion pictures that you
Yep.
had to go pay. This is broadcast television. You didn't have a guy like Scott Bakula with lipstick and wearing a skirt and a dress, and you're like, oh man, but it was tied to a plot. It wasn't like he was
Yep.
dressing up like Bugs Bunny,
And
to do anything. It was very important.
He broke the race barrier because he leaped into African Americans and
Oh,
Latinos.
Asians,
Yeah,
Latinos, African Americans, like you name it, he did. And I love that about the new Quantum Leap. But the one thing the new show did a little bit better than the old one was kind of give me more of an understanding of how the technology worked. Yes,
they
I
balanced the past and the future together, so they
exactly.
kept
So
a good balance to split it. And I think that kind of, for some people, I think people were lost with that. But of course, you had Quantum Leap uh, ended last year. It was canceled last year, 2024.
they are
It
shopping it
started
around, though. They are
it
shopping it
started
around.
in 2022. Okay, now this show, the original, concluded in 1993. That is a long ass gap, and they did connect it with the original series. And
Because he's
like
still
Dre
lost.
said,
That's what they kept saying. He's still lost. Like Sam
yeah,
Beckett never came back home.
Sam Beckett never leaped home. In fact, the new Quantum Leap, which was a continuation of the project, led by one of the people Sam actually leaps into, and
Mhm.
that is something that I really loved. And let's be honest, also, let's be honest, Ernie Hudson. Of course, I'm gonna watch it. You know, but we had a Ben Song, Dr. Ben Song. Again, it was kind of like the flip of Sam's initials. Instead of SB, it was BS. But hey, you know,
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny too. I
yeah.
picked up on that when watching the show.
And we have, and you know, our lead is an Asian lead, an Asian American lead. So that in itself was like, okay, you know, we don't need to keep it exactly the same. And they kind of went down different roads with it, and there was some subplots that weren't exactly corrected in there. We had a non-binary head of the technical aspect of the project. I mean, we had a full ensemble cast. They were dealing with the past and the present, and we had we had conspiracy theories with governments and Tony Stark esque type character. I mean, there was a lot of that. But some of my favorite episodes of the original was when there was stuff that was referencing the future, referencing stuff back at the project. I even read. I wish I still had them. I had a series of Quantum Leap comic books. There was a limited series by a company called Innovations. I used to have those comic books. I wish I still did. I read all the paperback novels that they had of Quantum Leap, which dealt and dove directly into more of that atmosphere where you were finding out everything that was going on back at the project with Al, Gushy, Dr. Beeks, and everyone else. And then, you know, you were also dealing with Sam when he was in his past. You know, it's just that Quantum Leap made you believe in possibilities, in the impossible. I mean, he leaped into a they in the early seasons they had this thing called a kiss with fate or kiss with history, where he would run into someone and it would be something that would interact and be a result of history. He ran into Chubby Checker and showed him how to do the twist before he even did the dance. He ran into a young Michael Jackson and he showed him how to moonwalk, not realizing that he showed it to little Mikey Jackson. He even ran into little Stevie King during the infamous Boogeyman episode. Uh, they did these really fun little kisses with history, but then they also dealt with serious tones, divorce, single parents. Uh, like I said, the character of Jimmy LaMotta, who had Down syndrome, he leaped into him twice. Uh, they dealt with he leaped into someone who was a rape victim, but when it came to to actually testify, they actually they brought her into the chamber so she could give the testimony and Sam could relay it. I mean, it was they dealt with some very powerful things. They dealt with the riots in Watts.
Which they
I
actually
mean,
go back to in the newer
yeah,
show as well. So
yeah,
you see it from two different perspectives.
yeah,
It's I think it's a telltale of them trying to bookend the series to show that there was still continuity within that same universe.
yep,
Again, it's like Dave said, this show suffered much like other shows on network television. That when you don't slot it in the right and you move it slot too much, people don't know when it's on, especially when it was us, like the latchkey kids that were really into it. It made it harder for us to say like, oh, well, if it's on Friday, oh, Friday has ABC, has Family Matters, and
There was
all
no
these other
DVR
shows.
back then, folks. We
Yeah,
had VHS. You can only record one show at a time, guys. So you had to make a choice,
yeah, unless you were
and it
lucky to
was your
have
parents who were
multiple
making the choice. Let's be
if you had
honest.
multiple TVs in a house where you and multiple VCRs, you were rich. Yeah, and you could afford to spend $10 on like a 3 pack of VHS tapes back then. I mean, it was a different time, and I feel like this show was
Oh,
very
yes, it
good,
was.
and it was. I think this show was a very good show. I think it's a for me again. It's part of my childhood. I think it shaped my nerd culture, my geek culture. You know, as a geek dad, it's definitely something that I've exposed my wife to show her students. So I've given her some of the episodes of Quantum Leap to show in her class because I think that they're very good story elements and storytelling, especially with a lot of the more modern aspects, like especially when the more current version of the show covering topics of non-binary, transgender,
Yes.
a lot of LGBTQ plus things. Plus, I love that the race. A lot of them talk about race and identity. I think that that was a very big play to this show because concept aside of race, right?
Yeah.
This guy's leaping into different people, regardless of their gender.
Correct.
What
Different
happens?
cultures.
What happens to your sense of identity? Think of it like a person in solitary confinement. They eventually lose their mind because they're not
Uh-huh.
able to socialize. His socialization is with Al. That's it.
Al, and maybe
And the people
talking
he
with
slept
the people
into.
that in that's in the life that he slept into. Yeah.
Exactly. So he eventually you start losing. And I think that that's a very strong topic to
Yes.
present. And I think Bakula does a fantastic job of it. I think the
Yeah.
guy that was playing Ben Sung did an amazing job of it because
Yep.
it's you lose yourself, and he was battling with that. So it does cover a lot of those topics. And like I said, at the end of the day, this is a great show. I think I mean I could rewatch it. I could sit down and definitely have that in background as background
Raymond
noise.
Lee played Ben
Raymond Lee,
Sung.
thank you. So I
Uh,
could sit and rewatch this show. Like I can't. I
yeah.
think it could be dated, but like Dave said, it's dated for a reason.
But
It's a time travel show.
let me throw this out there. I think this could be, and Dre, you're gonna look at me, possibly give me a hot take on this. Could the original Quantum Leap from '89 to 1993 be considered as a template on how to do wokeness properly? Because
I
we have
actually
a Caucasian.
I don't
We
think
have
it's a hot take. I don't think it's a
okay,
hot take as so much. I think it would be my view would be I don't think that show would be the show. I think Star Trek The Next Generation would be that show that really
yeah,
kind of broke those barriers of like of what I mean of stereotypes because
okay.
I think Star Trek would be that sci-fi show that did it. Does this show give you kind of a patchwork idea of how to cover very strong topics of gender identity and racism and divorce and the hard topics at that time? Because remember, you and I grew up where certain shows, PDF files were a big thing and was
Yes,
a very sore topic to talk about. And you know, though like the going through something as being assaulted,
yes,
without consent. Those are very hard topics in the 80s and 90s that were not drug use was not something very prolific. Smoking a cigarette was a huge thing in a TV show. So
yeah. It was.
if you weren't Miami Vice, Spencer for Hire, or NYPD Blue, that wasn't something you did. Now, hell, it's thrown out the window. But again, different times, different. And I think that the
Well,
show was very mindful of what it was trying to appeal to and do at that time for the
well,
generation it was in.
well, where I'm coming from with that is the fact that you have a Caucasian. Okay, you have a white male who's going through, leaping through different lives. He gets to see perspectives from the female perspective. He gets to see the perspective of segregation in the South in the 50s when when he leaped into Jesse. I mean, he saw so much from different perspectives, and I think as the audience, we are traveling with Sam. Okay,
But see, woke
so
is
it opens up the it opens up your eyes. Uh, maybe just only a small percentage, but it still shows you kind of some of the ugly truths that are out there.
I don't think that's woke. Woke isn't
Okay,
showing the ugly truth. Woke is more. It's I think Archer said it best when we had him on. Woke is kind of that, like, they do it to shoehorn it in. It's
okay,
shoehorning something in to make you see it
okay.
versus addressing it in a way that makes it part of the
And
story to tell a story. And I
so,
think that Quantum Leap did a very great job of doing that when it came to the topic of racism, gender, violence between both
okay,
genders,
so maybe I
things
should
like that.
reword it as this is more of Quantum Leap is the way to include
Yeah, it was very
and
inclusive.
so, but the thing is, to do that in 1989 wasn't heard of.
Oh yeah, it
I
wasn't.
mean, I
How
mean,
many shows did you have people that were disabled or handicapable? You didn't have
no,
many of that.
no,
You didn't have many people that were all what different strokes.
yeah,
Benjamin, you know, like I can go down the list. Designing women. You can
yeah,
go down the Golden Girls. How many people of color? And I love that show. How many people of color were really on Golden Girls? Never.
no,
I don't remember anybody. Maybe once or twice, if that. So
exactly.
when you think about going through the telling the story, Quantum Leap does that in spades. It does a very good job of it. I think for us, I know that a lot of people have asked us, and I know Dave, you said it with the Leap cast. They wanted us, they wanted you to kind of do it. I've always said I'd be willing to come on because I
Mhm.
love Quantum Leap and I know a lot about the lore. I would love to kind of like go into detail on that. And if you guys really want us to do that, to bring back an episode of the Leap cast, yeah, I'm not an original member, but hey, it's the Out of Dim version of it, so we can do that. You guys want us to do that, comment below in this video and let us know if
Mhm.
that's something you would want us to talk about. Because I think Quantum Leap does a lot of there's a lot of episodes we can like kind of cherry pick some episodes. So it's not us kind of just shooting the shit and like hoping we hit something. We
Yeah,
can cherry pick actual episodes, talk about them, and maybe give you that kind of in-depth view of how we can compare the new version with the old version. So I'd be all down for that. So I would love to see that. Again,
but
comment
yeah,
below if that's something you guys want
this
to do.
this has always been one of my top ones. I mean, trust me, anyone who's watching this, there are plenty. We have hundreds, if not more, shows that we can probably binge over and over again. I can list a lot of retro ones. I mean, I like a lot of the old ones. Like Dre pointed out, Sliders. That was on my short list. That was on my short list because that is another show that was a victim to Fox and then moving over to Sci-Fi Channel and then moving, jumping from different nights. There's a lot of great shows out there, and I'm sure we're going to be touching base on more. Like Dre said earlier in the video, we will be doing another episode, maybe having a guest come on, give us their top binge shows, maybe guess or guess. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. So I know that we do the show remakes. Allison's been on it. Thanos will be the next one we have. That's going to be up in 2 weeks. So obviously that's going to be prior. When we say 2 weeks, that's actually in the past. So coming up soon, be expecting that to watch those videos and see them in our past. If you guys want, like I said, in the past parts to see it, just look forward to it. If it's something you guys do want us to do, contact us and let us know. I'm always up for um, doing a little bit more of a deep dive, kind of social experiment discussion, sort of this way to examine this. Something I'm doing currently on my channel. I'm taking a break from doing the discussions on representation in cartoons and kind of going over characters that are different. So that might be something we could do here with Quantum Leap and kind of pick episodes. So I love
Yeah.
this. I agree with Dave. There's a lot of great shows. We do have more shows. This is a canned episode, so I hope you guys really like it. Again, it's there are going to be a few more we're going to can. This is one we're filming a little bit longer. It's a longer form video. So if you stayed all the way to the end, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Look forward to the next one in the series.
Yep.
I don't know if it's going to be a permanent series, but it is something Dave and I are looking to do with our live show.
Yep.
Again, tune into the live show next week when we actually are. I'm not going to say the guest because again, this is a canned episode, so we don't know. We may not have a guest. We may have a
Previously
different
on the
guest.
Outer Dimensions podcast.
Exactly. So just
but-
enjoy that with us.
And guys, don't forget to check out all the links in the video description below. You got Dre the Geek Dad. You can find him on YouTube. And also, we're going to have his IG in the description below. I'm Dave's Dimension. Of course, the channel where Chaos and Insanity reign supreme. My links will be in the description below, as well as my IG. And don't forget to donate to the Ride for Roswell. Stream for the Cure will be over by this time, but you can still donate to the Ride for Roswell and Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Institute. The links will be in the description below. But guys, Dre, what's going to happen now?
Oh man, we're gonna walk through the portal and we are gonna say thank you guys for watching. And as always, my friends, stay geeky, y'all.
Catch you guys on the flip side. Take care, guys.
Dre and Dave hit it hard in the dark, spinning tales from the void, never bark. Movie shows, they tear apart. Dimensions clash, they ignite the spark. Couch debates